Hello everybody and welcome to a meeting of the Darien Architectural Review Board. I'm Elizabeth Geiger, the chairman. It is Tuesday, September 20th, if you can believe it, 2022. Time is flying. I will introduce the members of our board here tonight to review our agenda. We have David Riley, Anya Janis, Marion Castell, Vice Chair David Humphrey, Rebecca Morrison, and Leslie McCauley. We have a busy agenda tonight, guys. I say this every time. Keep it brief. I don't need to hear your whole life story. We've seen the applications. We review them in advance. We do our homework, so it can make it faster for you, and you can go home and put the feet up and watch whatever show that is. So starting off, we have an old application, ARB number 14, 2022 for Darien Commons Federal Realty. Patrick, you're a resident here, you know how it goes, but introduce yourself for the camera.
Certainly. Patrick McMahon with Federal Realty Investment Trust. We're the proponent for the Darien Commons project, the old redevelopment of the Stop and Shop Center across the street from the Roten Heights train station.
Welcome, Patrick. You can sit, stand, whatever you're comfortable doing.
And probably do a little bit of both. Probably sit for this portion.
All right. Power stance. Power seat. Great.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you very much for having us back. I know we've got several items on the agenda tonight, as well as several tenants here. I believe agenda item number 1 is the continuation of the exterior FF&E at our project, which was heard all the way, geez, that was probably 4 or 5 months ago?
It was in March 2022.
Okay, so it was longer than that.
Yep.
There were...
Yeah, I was going to say, so you guys came to present some of the elements of the exterior. And the biggest thing we left with is coming back with 3D imagery on how all the elements came together and giving us some options for chairs. Yes. And maybe talking about some of the paving options, if that's in it, and plants.
Planting options, right, the planting list. So we've got, and I don't know, it looks like some of you do have, we had submitted an email in response to the letter that we received. It looks like many of you have that. That's the email, thank you. Yeah. And maybe we can just go in the order of the email. The first was you encouraged us to look at, and let me get the site plan. You encouraged us to look at alternative seating options for the pocket park. And the pocket park is out on the Roten. So we've got quite a big site here. This being Heights, the train station being here off the plan. This is our landscape plan. This being the Roten, and what we continually call sort of our pocket park, which was an old prison paint building that we've since raised, and now we've got a pocket park here that steps down into the site, and it's immediately adjacent or opposite the entry to Equinox. The seating option that we presented to you back in March was the very first seating option on option number 1 in the email, and at that time you encouraged us to look at several other options. And so we've proposed either option 2 or option 3. My preference would be option 3, but those are the other 2 seating options that we would appreciate your consideration of tonight. And I don't know if we want to stop there.
Let's stop there and see if there's any comments, and we'll go on. If you guys remember, I think a few members of the board did not like the mustard, but for the most part, the board enjoyed the eclectic mix, like introduction into our New England town. Not to hold your opinions on what was said, but just refreshing your guys' memory to that March meeting. Go for it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm leaning toward option 3. I don't have a real strong opinion, but I think it is kind of a nice take on an Adirondack chair. So that, it's kind of speaks to what you're saying, sort of this nod to what's sort of considered, ubiquitous to this area, but then also takes it up a little bit more modern. Color-wise, white's fine with me, but maybe mixed greens and whites. I don't know. How many chairs total are we talking?
It's not a lot, and in fact, and I don't know if this is in your package. I would imagine not. I'll pass this out now, and you can turn to page 4, which would be the pocket park. I will pass that out now so that you have it. It is the exterior FF&E plan, and this may have been, and I was not here in that March hearing. This may have been distributed at that time. But this is probably about 5 or 6 copies. if you were to turn to page 4, you'll see the chair happens twice.
Oh,
It happens twice in the pocket park. And in fact, as I was reviewing this tonight, I thought to myself, we probably should order 4, not 2.
You know what, Patrick? Keep going. Will you keep going with your presentation? Because I think the more you talk, might tie in your objective a little bit better.
Okay, fantastic.
But I like that Dave Riley gave some initial thoughts. Okay.
Wonderful. The next was, I think there was a question on the actual, the material for the walls in the pocket park, and if you turn to page 3 of the email, and if you have, if you have driven by the site, particularly along West, in the past 4 or 5 months, we have what we originally spec'd as Connecticut Fieldstone. That is a picture of the walls along the West Avenue side of the redevelopment. That indeed is the composition of the exterior walls in the pocket park and largely surrounding the site along Edgerton and along Heights as well. The Heights stone has only gone up recently, so you may not have seen that. You may have been looking at concrete walls over the past several months there. But that indeed is the Connecticut Fieldstone. It is indeed stone. It's not faux stone, and it's not an aggregate material.
Okay.
That will be a background, the chairs.
That's correct. Yeah. So if you were to look again at that, if you look here at this plan, there's a it's not even a semicircle. It's like a quarter circle, maybe quarter ellipse. I'm getting my geometry
So
right.
the chairs are in that pocket part.
Correct.
With plantings and fieldstone.
Yes. So you've got loam and seed. You've got a lawn that the chairs will be on, and we'll probably end up ordering 4 as opposed to the 2 that are shown. And in that ellipse behind it will be the Connecticut Fieldstone.
It'll be fake grass, real grass?
It will not be fake. It'll be real grass.
Okay.
Real grass with irrigation to make sure it grows.
How are you preventing the chairs from being stolen?
That's a great question.
They weigh 200 pounds.
They are indeed, and so that was part of the design direction here, which I'm not actually a big fan of. So I'm glad you encouraged us to look at others. They're all relatively heavy pieces of furniture. That's the best that we can ever do. We do anticipate things walking off the site from time to time, and so and we will backfill. We're not
Unless it's a bench.
Unless it's a bench that's it's bolted down and affixed to a concrete pad or a slab of some sort.
So you should probably order 8 chairs and have to go in storage.
4 in storage. Yeah. But we won't have cameras up in that park at all. It'll be well lit, not garishly lit, but it'll be lit, and we're hopeful that the size and the weight of these deter any would-be stealers.
Seasonal plantings.
And then the plantings, this is a planting list, which we included, and you may have. And you may have some amount of familiarity with some of these.
You don't have to go through this, Patrick. This is great. I saw it.
Okay.
We had pictures attached. With Leslie, comments or question?
Yeah, I think I speak for myself, others may have other ideas. I think I'd like to veer away from yellow, red, or orange plantings.
Yellow, red, or orange plantings. Okay.
Leaving what?
White, purple.
White, purple, green. Okay.
I think with the colors that we have on the facades, if we start doing like bright samples and whatnot, it's gonna
I
it's not our
Their
coast.
facade color.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I think the color in the facade, I'm trying to remember the facade color
Yeah.
is what?
They're dark.
It changes, but like, yeah, the reds could pull out, like the red and yellows could pull
We're
out.
dating
like,
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand. Those are loud colors.
Yeah.
You're looking for something a little more subdued or refined or...
Pinks, yeah,
Okay.
just not
Not reds.
yellow, red, or orange.
Got it.
What about its fall colors though? Because in the fall, winter, it's a lot of.
Through season,
Yeah.
no yellow, red, or orange.
Really? Even
Even season.
Hukera? How do you pronounce it? Huchera?
No, I think it's gonna
The cherry cola.
look,
Watermelon.
I think we're,
No? My fall planters.
like lavender and sedums
Yes.
There's a ton of other options that we can do.
Okay, that's it, right, Patrick?
That is it,
Okay.
relative to FF&E.
Yep, good. Other comments, good?
Yeah, I like the option 3 chair. I think it'll be a little more functional. I think that option 1 is going to have water sit in it and we'll be clearing out. It's kind of a, we'll
I
Uh-huh.
like
have Adirondacks 2 ways, we'll have a rocker and a modern take.
About the color.
Well, you're gonna have a lot of green there, it's sitting on a green lawn, right?
We are.
And you're gonna have green and you're gonna have lavender, whatever, around the edge of it. So I wondered what you pick up as a color for the chair. You don't want green matching the lawn, particularly that tone. You could get a brighter, a different tone green. White always works.
White would be perfect.
Okay, white was the
Yeah.
option
And
that
are
we're
you
showing there.
prepared when something happens to these chairs to put on a bench?
I candidly hadn't thought that far in advance. Have always
Yeah, right.
expected FF&E to sort of walk off over time, but a bench, if indeed that's the long-term solution, we'll do that too.
Did we talk about the, in the pocket part, the small folding chairs?
That was for picture's sake, that was for like color's sake, right?
It was, but also just to say those sort of, we call them the Parisian chairs, are elsewhere on site and could be.
Because I had the same question again as Leslie about, I wasn't so concerned about the Adirondack chairs, but those chairs particularly, I feel like they could be blown over constantly in the wind, and B, unless they're taken away every single night, they're just going to get stolen.
But they're not planned for the pocket.
They're not. They're planned for, in this particular area here where we've got Gregory's Coffee and Seymour's, where we expect quite a bit of activity and eyes to prevent the walking off from happening. But that's where we've got most of these located. Certainly
But are
not
they
here.
going to be put away at night? Because they just seem like they're very tippy, even in a windstorm.
We don't typically put them away. We've got them on other properties. Although these we over order from the beginning.
Okay.
Because we expect what you just, never want to think too cynically, but
It's just attrition.
Yeah.
it is.
Okay, next question on the pocket park. I wasn't here for that meeting. Just really quickly, these retaining walls, are those at a height that can be, just from a placemaking standpoint, are they high, or is that a place where people can sit as well? Or are you really using it as a walkway?
Like sit on the walls?
Yeah.
I think that was one of the questions.
Sorry.
So they die as the grade moves. You're sort of you're the top of the grade moves as the stairs would suggest.
Right.
Sort of in this direction. High point being here, low point being there.
Yep.
So they die into the grade when you get here.
Right.
They're indeed not meant for walking on top of.
Right.
However, certainly for a good portion of them, they could be seat walls because
Okay.
many of them they start off as really almost a knee wall.
Okay.
So it's not, and they never get to a height where we'd be required by code to actually have fall protection either. So
Okay.
it's never too high, if that makes sense.
All right. Great.
Patrick, 2 last questions. What, on those walls, what is it, we asked last time what the cap would be on those. Did you guys decide it's gonna be a bluestone cap?
We've got wherever we've got fieldstone, we do have a bluestone cap, with the exception of one wall along west.
Okay. Someone asked that last time if it's something inviting to sit on, to piggyback on Anya's question.
It is a cap, and it's
Okay.
indeed, it's decorative certainly, but it's also can act as a seat wall very easily. So you're not just terminating with sort of jagged stone that doesn't feel comfortable to sit on.
So then this image has capstones, but they're not like the more refined stone capstones.
Correct. Yes, that's exactly where yes, and this is being along west. That's not where we had them. We actually had the.
Okay. So
We actually
then I
had-
already referred to like one of these renderings.
That's a great one to look at.
Okay.
Are the planters going to be one of these colors?
Um,
Whatever you're showing, or has that been decided? There's lots of different color planters. and
So
designs.
this is generally the design and color palette, indeed color palette, as well as design of the planters that we intend to locate throughout the site.
Okay,
So,
so the variety, all of them.
and as you said, that's obviously red. So I took your comment to be we were speaking in relation to the pocket park, but I'm actually, as you said that, I was thinking you generally are applying that comment across, right? Okay.
Please.
Yep, and white actually is something we like too. So if that's,
Or black would hide cigarette burns. I'm guessing it's a composite?
it is, yep, indeed. And yes.
And Patrick, across the whole site, what the pocket park and these different parks you depicted here along the walkways, what are the pavers made out of?
So it depends. So I know we brought the paving, I know you've seen all the paving samples.
I've never seen them mixed in with everything else.
Okay.
So I don't know, so I'm not sure what was what. Am I catching you off guard with it? If I am, then we can email about it.
I think I'd like to email just to be sure.
Okay.
But in some of the renderings that we'll show you tonight, particularly relative to Seymour's, and if you've been at all the Walgreens, you'll see the concrete that's got a sort of a brownish hue to it.
Okay.
It's not pronounced and it's not loud, but it's got a brownish hue to it.
Okay.
That is indeed what we've got in most of that pocket park.
Okay.
But let me, if you don't mind my reserving the right to be wrong on that, I'm
That's fine.
fairly certain I'm correct.
I'm gonna make a note, you're gonna email us the final paving selections for the different areas.
Will do.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, anything else, guys? Patrick, it's always wonderful to see you. You do such a thoughtful job.
Thank you very
We
much.
really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time and the
yeah.
consideration here.
And I really appreciate you taking the time with these final details. Like the devil in the detail, I kind of hate that saying, but it's kind of true. Again, it's really pulling together. Like the site's pretty massive. It's kind of hard to absorb. And as you guys are fine tuning the details, I think it's really helping bring it all together. And it's starting to.
I appreciate that greatly. That's been the challenge. It's a big site. We got a lot going on. And to sort of bring it down to in terms of scale and make it an inviting pedestrian environment, these sort of details matter.
Yeah. All right. This is great.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, so we'll bring up in a few minutes for the next one. Actually, if you want to stay there, I don't know if you're going to help here. ARB number 2022. We're going to go over Seymour's again, which we saw last month. No, 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
July, yeah. We were off.
Hope everybody had a good summer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Introduce
posted
yourself.
in July, in August.
I know. Right.
We did.
I'll start out just really quickly as Craig, and again, Patrick McMahon, Federal Real Estate Investment Trust, with the proponent of Darien Commons. Craig is the guy actually don't know
Owner's
your firm-
representative for
And I don't know
Seymour's.
your firm's name. I apologize.
Oculus.
Okay, we just skipped right past that and we're on a first name basis. Craig is the owner's representative for Seymour's.
No, what's Craig's last name?
Eischen, E-I-S-C-H-E-N.
E-I-S.
C-H-E-N.
Okay.
And I'll just do a quick kind of high-level overview before turning it over to Craig. We had a really good, really robust conversation when we were here in July. We got a lot of very helpful feedback, and I say we because some of it was base building, some of it was Seymour's, some of it was what's the hardscape landscape around Seymour's. And so we spent the better part of a month and a half collectively working, as a team. Where typically we as landlord sort of are on the periphery of what our tenants are doing and designing. Here, this has really been a very collaborative effort. So we hope that we've meaningfully addressed most, if not all, and if we haven't, then we've got hopefully a meaningful response to why we haven't made a move that was requested, or at least requested that we look at. Craig is going to start off. I will say, at the point that we get to the corner, and what we identified last time as a moment for something artistic, and I mean not the corner that you're looking at here, which is along Heights at the entry, but the opposite corner, still on Heights next to Vivalas. I'll jump up at that moment in time, but hopefully, as you see, as Craig sort of walks through the fine-grained details here, that we've taken to heart all those comments at a fine-grained level and then at a macro level. For example, I'll just, as an example, and we'll certainly get into this. One of the comments made last time was, what is the materiality of the facade that is not glazed? And certainly, I think we've got a meaningful upgrade here tonight over what was proposed originally. Again, Craig will present that. We also took a note, I think, Hervé, you would suggest to take a look at what you're doing above, see how that can inform what you're doing below. So I think you'll also see that we have looked at, hey, we've got clapboard above. It's a wood type of siding. Why don't we look at doing that below? We've got real brick on the other side that sits above Seymour's, so we brought that brick down. That's just one example. That being said, Craig, I'll turn it over to you. And
Craig, before you start, I'm going to do an introduction myself for the ARB to make sure they know. Guys, this is the letter. This is the bulk of the letter we wrote to them the last time. The overall recap of suggestions we had. Provide another material for the outside facade that's better quality and appearance than the proposed trivet. Consider relocating and removing the first 4 columns. The art structural to promote an extended unbroken glazing. Confirm the exact style and materials of your preferred windows, door selections. Blah, blah, blah. Revisit the smaller size of the bar counter windows to simplify a busy facade. And also refer to those 2 stories above for window ideas and mirroring. The proposed signage on the 2 empty western walls we talked about, we'll get to that. You guys know the signs of the walls need to be addressed, those walls. Also integrating the corner for that large signage wall. Those are the bulk of stuff. And then we talked about going to the outdoor terraces and spaces. So there's a lot to absorb here. I'm going to have you break this down, but we're going to do this in pieces.
Okay.
Let's start with the facade materials changes.
So as Patrick mentioned, we kind of stepped back from where we were the last time and contemplated this material, the clapboard and the brick, and really kind of used that to carry the clapboard down. We're probably going to use clapboard, AZAC, or something like that, but everything in this kind of corner area becomes a painted finish, which is the white that you see here.
Clapboard or AZAC, it's a big difference.
Well, it'll end up being painted.
Clapboard or
Finish.
AZAC though, right?
Some of the I think the AZAC is fine for the trim, but some of the panels are going to be more painted wood. I don't know that, we'll have to check if we can get AZAC in 4x8 sheets, because there are some bigger areas that are just flat panels.
The AZAC moves a lot. I would use a plywood like an MDO.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The color has been dialed into some of the other storefronts, the Cournier 451T, the Colonial white finish. That's pretty much what dictated the white for the Seymours that we have everywhere else. So then, going away from this corner, it steps back into the brick. We've brought down the brick piers, and it probably shows up a little bit better on this elevation here. So here's where the step is, and we've got the wood primarily here, and then when we're below the brick, we've got the brick columns that show up here, and then even where this artwork is going, that's set back in brick, but it's again painted to white, so that kind of ties this area into this. These setback areas here are, Anderson windows in the same finish, 400 series, but this will be a wood section in between the brick, just so that we're clear on that. We made sense of where we were putting the awnings this time, whereas I think they stopped, over here before. We've decided to carry that down and cover all of the windows to kind of bring that, again, a little bit more, bring it into being a little bit more cohesive. And then we kind of left this corner, which Patrick said he'll talk about later. As far as the awnings, we do have a sample of the fabric. And it will be the same fabric on the awnings and on the umbrellas, which is this umbrella fabric. Should I pass these around?
Yep, that's fantastic. So the umbrellas and awnings will match?
Yes.
Okay.
The pattern's different on the umbrellas. It's going to be more of a circular as opposed to the awnings, which are going to come down and, as drawn here.
So before you go into, let's talk about the materials. We saw that you brought the brick down on that feature wall, and then also the brick down on the pilasters. Have you guys seen that on the drawings? Mm-hmm. I thought that was a really smart. It looked nice. It kind of fit with also the type of storefront going there. And I wondered why you didn't use the brick on that key corner there on the other pilasters, and you stopped on that main building.
On here?
Yep. Why the brick didn't continue on each of those pilasters? Wood in between.
I think it was just more to stay, focused on this, with it being especially with the step in the storefront, that there was an opportunity to change that and just kind of bring it a little bit more, I think, on a human scale, or just kind of bring it in tighter and feel more welcoming. Brick is a little more, harder and jarring, I think, in some ways, and the wood is a little bit more softer.
I'm in total agreement with
I like it.
yeah, with that decision.
Just to confirm, no more stucco, right?
No,
So this is all gonna
we
be
don't know that word anymore.
coming down.
This is all brick.
How wide is that?
It's gonna be-
On the corner?
Not brick that's been painted.
I think it's on order of 24 by 24, like 2 by 2.
2 by 2?
It's not gonna be brick like that.
So it still looks like columns on
Okay,
the
okay, that's what I was.
Yeah, robust enough with that capital too to make it really.
So it's on.
And just to be clear, the base of the corner columns with the panels, there's like a base
Down at
it's
the,
demarcated with the sill. And it's obscured in,
There's another.
Yeah.
There's another view.
yeah, you mean like this detail? Like on the-
actually, no, I think this rendering, you can just
But
barely
it's
see.
a-
Water base?
So I'm just
Oh, maybe it shows
concerned
up.
that, you've got the windowsill line just carrying that datum at that
Like
corner.
here?
Yeah, it's just, it was a little unclear.
Right, no, we would look to establish this line through here and do
Okay.
kind of similar,
Okay, so
something
it's
similar
broken
to
up
what
a
you
little bit.
see.
Yeah, so there's like a base and then
Right.
there's the Chicago part.
Yeah, and so that base there will be clapboard, because I worry about that, and you have that outdoor bar area, which I don't know if you have a good shot of that bar.
I don't think it's clapboard, because I think the term clapboard got kind of maybe misappropriated in terms of how it was said that it informed below.
Yeah.
It's wood, it's panel, it's trim, but I don't see the actual clapboard. Clapboard is the way the
Right.
siding is laid up.
Right.
I don't see any evidence of that on the base.
If I
Trim.
may- If
Yeah.
I may venture a material suggestion or
Yeah,
question.
yeah, it's the materiality.
Is there,
informed.
is there exploration of using a hardy plank? I'm sorry if I use another one, but hardy plank being a fiber cement that looks like wood and is maintenance free once it's painted once, that's it, and it's higher
Sure.
traffic resistance than wood.
Sure.
I'm afraid of the wood because wood has a tendency to thaw, freeze, crack.
Mhm.
The maintenance of it and the painting of it is regular, and it ends up being a bigger cost, and there'll be rot, whatever, the water wants to get in.
Right.
When your fiber cement is a strong, everlasting, or much
Right,
more
I was-
long-lasting material.
I was just
And it would
looking-
look the same. I mean, you can get exactly that 2 by, that's why I was asking.
That's what
And that is indeed hardy.
Yes, so
Up
you're
above.
bringing the hardy down, and that
Already
way-
has a whole suite of
Why not?
pieces.
They do.
Because wood is a bit soft, I think, for retail.
As I look at this, I believe there is a band of what was intended to be like some kind of a precast, like a painted precast,
Mhm.
like stone, if you will.
Water table.
And I think that's, if I look, and I'm sorry, I didn't see this before, but as you look at this here, it does represent
Yeah.
some kind of a stone, but I think the intent, I don't think they got it right on this, it would be painted to match, but it is something that is a more durable finish at the bottom of the wall.
It looked like there was an opportunity for the water table to carry all the way across and become the wall base.
Yeah, you can see it on this one, if you have that.
Yes, yeah, that one's,
Right.
that one does a good job of.
It's right at the right height. And then a piece of granite there.
And then, yeah, what is the material of the actual bar itself, that outdoor bar?
The countertop.
Countertop.
It's either going to be a stone or some kind of solid surface material.
Can you let us know what that is?
Sure.
When you guys decide?
Sure.
Do you guys have any recommendations for us, in case they come back with something and you're like, you would have said no right away?
I think a solid surface material gives us a better opportunity to color match. You know, if we're
Like
looking
a Caesar stone?
to, yeah, something man-made, but,
Yeah.
you know, those tend to be a little bit more resistant to stains and other things like that too, so.
Check UV resistance as well, since it's sitting in the sun where
Solid
it's
stone.
exterior.
Could I make a comment on the awning and relevant to it?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're okay with all the actual materials, because that was a lot of
Okay.
questions. Are you guys okay with that? We go on to the awnings, and then we'll go to windows? Yeah, okay.
Where
So
we
let's
going
talk awnings and then windows, but do you want to,
Yeah, I like the sample, and I like it on the awnings, but it's a little too busy, at least visually, vertical stripes and then horizontal stripes, they're just throwing me, I mean, if I were to dress that way,
Mhm.
it's probably down the bar. So,
Depends which part.
I don't know that they've rendered them the best in this picture.
yeah, I'm just wondering if the umbrellas wouldn't be better served as a solid, like,
Solid.
like a
maybe.
color even, I don't know, it's,
Circles.
you've got a lot of color going on with the chairs and everything, I don't want to overwhelm with too many
Sure.
splashes of color, but it
It's a
seems
good,
like
good thought.
maybe, yeah, maybe just a solid.
Black.
Solid
Yeah,
black or solid white?
Yeah, yeah, just to calm it down.
Sure.
Like a little fish
Any
logo.
circles?
Yeah, you got
Little white fish
little white
logo.
fish logo on it.
Little white fish logo on the black umbrella. That's a nice quality material, though.
Okay, great suggestion, Mr. Riley. All right, do you want to talk about windows and doors?
So windows, so the doors were dialed into the Conair 451T that were in line with that. So that is our entry door, that's our folding door. Let me see if it shows up any better. You can see that here. But that is the Conair storefront.
Has any of that, should we refer back to, I know, great new renderings, but we don't have any actual plans here, architectural plans, so we'd be referring back to the original ones you sent that you supplied in July for windows and doors. Are there any changes to those?
Well, we've got them. We've got the original. We got
Okay.
We distributed the
Yes,
series.
those.
You just mean the straight-on elevation, the architectural elevation?
Yes, I'm wondering, we didn't get a new set.
No, we,
So I'm wondering if these are still accurate, or if you've changed, if you went back and relooked at any of the sizing or options for windows or doors, or if it's all the same as presented in July.
To me, it looked the same on the rendering. It looked the same to me on the rendering.
yes, as far as the openings and
the size of the
locations and sizes, and none of that changed from the original.
Okay.
We did take a look at, we had a conversation the last time about the buttons in the window and whether we were going to do none or half or quarters or whatever, and we've kind of settled on what we've submitted here, that it's not exactly matching,
Settle on what we have.
but I think it's complementary. Well, I guess they are pretty close.
Now,
It looks like the two of
when
those.
you said Anderson window, what's the material of the window? The 400 series, so is it aluminum outside, wood inside? What's the Anderson there? What are you presenting?
They will be muttons.
No. The
window
Clad,
itself,
you're saying, are they?
are they
What are
painted
they?
aluminum, or are they metal, or are they wood?
Yeah, which one of the sub-series of the 400? I'm interested in hearing that.
I think we're interested in lower maintenance on the metal side of things,
Okay.
as a metal finish.
Okay.
Although the trim around the windows will be painted.
All right. So metal in, metal out?
Yeah.
Not within, metal out?
Well, I can't speak to the inside of the window, because you can get them two different finishes. I've got to double check on the interior,
Okay.
if
Because it's
that's,
very different feel.
Right. It is
If it's a
different, and I-
composite wood metal versus old metal, it's a different look. So.
right.
Yeah, Craig, I'm gonna ask you if you can send, after this meeting, depending where we end up with things, if you can send spec sheets on your window selections.
Okay.
And I assume you're painting it to match the siding and trim.
Right.
And you're painting the brick to match
Yes.
all the same.
Right.
Okay.
I feel like we may have asked this last time, but the muntins, are they true divided lights or are they simulated divided lights?
They'll be simulated.
But spacer bar, that would be important.
Pardon?
A spacer bar, if it's insulated glass, you can put the grills on the outside and the inside, but if you don't put a spacer bar in there, you can see right through and it looks awful.
Okay.
So I just,
Well,
if you can designate a spacer bar as part of the spec on the windows, would be important.
Well, if it's simulated, it would be between the glass, right?
Correct, yeah, it
Lines.
sits inside, in the cavity of the glass, the spacer bar it visually ties the two grills together.
Does that match the windows above, I guess, or the windows above simulated as well?
I don't know what the windows are above.
I should know that.
They're probably
I don't know.
simulated. I mean, I would typically prefer a true divided light, but if it matches the windows above, I suppose. Be
And we've got-
consistent, but
We're Pella above, but I don't. don't know
Most
the answer to
likely
the
it'll
question.
be an STL.
Yeah, yes. I'm assuming that as well. I don't know for certain.
Yeah, if you don't mind sending that spec.
Yeah,
Sure.
Like for the size of these windows, I would be a little concerned that the 2/2 with a simulated divided light may not be prominent enough for this facade.
I agree with you.
Well, does that get into the width of the muntin though? I mean, because you can designate a wider
So
muntin.
that
Yeah.
should be part of the
Yeah,
consideration.
so that would be
Like,
looked at.
these renderings show what look to be a true divided light that has some bulk to it, but that's not necessarily how they're gonna come out unless you specify that.
What was your concern about the size?
Well,
The size of the
Like
actual
width of the
muntin?
yeah, the width of the muntin, especially if it's simulated and it's not true, meaning it's not applied over the glass, it's sitting in the glass, it's not as prominent, it's not, it doesn't look like a real wood window.
Right.
Oh, no, but the SDL, if it's an applied SDL, the grill is actually adhered to the outside and inside panes. And that's why I was speaking to a spacer bar. That's what actually goes inside the glass.
You get
So my experience residentially is that, we always specify SDLs with applied muntins. So you don't.
on both
And
sides.
generally,
On
I
both sides.
believe the Anderson 400 series, I
think so.
don't spec
Right.
Anderson a lot, but it most likely would have the applied.
Yeah,
In which case, it's a more authentic
I think
look.
whatever's happening here, we would be looking to do the same thing down here. And not,
Yeah, agreed.
okay.
But I
I
think
would
reviewing
look
this.
at both, because I don't think you're gonna read the windows above the way that you're gonna read the windows below when you're walking by it, and I assume that you're gonna be consistent with not just what is essentially a storefront, but also, your bar area
Right.
wrapping all the way around the corner.
Mhm.
That would make a big difference in the look of these windows. So if it's simulated, but you're applying grills to the outside, great. But
Okay.
I would figure out what you want the spec to be and then send it so we can check
I
that.
think the windows are installed on the upper stories, is that correct? Or-
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
But yeah, it's a residential window. I would be a little surprised if they had the grills applied to the outside. And even if they're not, I think the importance of having them on the first floor might
It's
be-
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you may not want to just follow what's above. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Especially with how these renderings look. They're great.
I had a question about the doors. This is not specifically to you, Greg, but for the board, I was curious if you guys liked the doors they proposed. They came off a little like, parochial to me, a little commercial, but that might be the style of the building that I might be missing. And it might be also because I was kind of jarred by them because the windows had gotten such a complicated rhythm that you have these large doors. Maybe that was part of the charm. Do you want to speak to that at all? Why you chose the doors you did?
I think it's just more, speaks to the entry of the space, and it's not just more of the same.
Okay. Yeah, so
You know,
deliberately,
it
a deliberate
designates
break.
it designates the entrance, right?
Got it, okay.
And there may be some signage on those doors anyway. That's
Right.
something.
I think part of it too is that the handles, the door, just seemed like a detail that was overlooked. Let's go.
With the full height pulls.
Yeah, I don't know, the poles again just seem pretty commercial, pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But it's just me, it's just me.
You think they should have like a fish handle or something?
No, it just seemed like you have so much detail going into a whole picture, and then you've got this, it's almost like there was no thought given to like a door that came like with this general, maybe that's the only thing that's bothering me.
I don't know off the top of my head if these are the same handles everywhere else in the development. No.
There's a few places.
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Okay.
I might be able to tell you right now.
What is it?
I think it would be helpful if we got blow-ups of these, the windows, larger scale, the doors larger scale, then, so this way we can really tell what they look like.
That's a good
Right.
idea. Okay.
This, you know, with the dimensions and proportion, something a little more, because that's really hard to see on this drawing. I mean, it's in contextual here, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see the feature wall again anyway, so maybe we can come back and revisit the details of the windows and the doors at that point in time. What do you think? Yep. Okay. All right, any other comments that they can run with, guys, on the doors and windows?
I mean, just one small consideration to the door. The restaurant in New York has a door that has a solid panel, but the bottom half is just aligned with the rest of the storefront. It's not a big thing for me, but just seeing it there might be something to look at, because it would match.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. You know what he's talking about, like the bottom of the door is paneled, so it's like, so it's one base panel across the entire.
You know, then you have the panel here,
Right, you can align it.
and this is the door now. And you keep that whole panel all the way along.
Okay, Craig. Yeah, I mean, we're getting into stylistic things that might be your owner's preference might be that, maybe just, I prefer one thing, Mr. Humphrey prefers another, but just something to think about when we revisit those.
Okay.
Okay, so we got the material, okay, let's talk, we've done materials, we've done doors, windows. What do you got there? You gonna beat
Banquette.
Patrick with a stick?
The banquette? No,
Banquette?
never.
Yep, let's talk terraces and lighting too.
So the banquette was a question the last time about the finish on the banquette.
Yes.
So this is the sample, mahogany with
Okay.
Australian timber oil. That's the secret.
Timber oil.
So there's no stain on it. It's a natural finish. It's just got the oil.
Yeah, and the oil has to be reapplied
What is the, how do
kind
you
of
clean
on a
it?
regular basis.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some maintenance that'll come with it.
Yeah.
Yes. But the intent is to match what you see on the renderings here. That's not the board width, that's just a finish sample.
Right.
So it would be that we would have the wider boards. The banquette would be all enclosed, the back would be closed, the front below the seat would be enclosed too, so there's nothing open. And that's the way that they've detailed it here. Similar construction with the table that goes in the middle of the Adirondack chairs with wider boards that create the circle, but using that same material and finish.
This is all on the
This will
base.
prevent it from graying out, as long as it's.
Maybe this.
Right.
And so is the banquette angled or is it a straight back that we see?
It's got a little bit of an angle back.
Angle from where you sit or angle from the pedestrian side, from
So
behind it?
the back is straight,
Okay,
the seat is flat, and then the back has got a little bit of a slant to it. I don't know if we have.
Is that the back you're looking for?
It's shown on the.
There's nothing that shows up in the rendering, but
The previous drawing, have a picture of it. The previous drawing.
yeah, but the drawing was inconsistent in some places. Some places it had it had an angled back as well, and then on the.
Well, where you're sitting, it's the horizontal boards that are angled. At least this is what I'm able to interpret from this.
Yep.
And then the back has the vertical boards, which are straight.
right.
Correct.
That's great.
And that
It
previous.
was depicted differently, I just want to make sure that we were clear, that so it is straight outside the banquet, the rear of it is straight vertical
Yes.
up and down,
Yes.
like this. Okay,
Question, this might be a code-related question. I'm just throwing it out there. I noticed that your railing passes by the back of the banquette. Now, is there any concern from a code standpoint that since you can step up on the bench, if there needs to be a rail
A higher
situated
rail
above?
behind the-
I don't know the code specifically for that, but I just, something to check on.
Sure.
I'm not commenting that you need to change anything, it's just that.
That's a great, I don't know, but I know what you're getting at. We've done roof decks before and had to pull seating away from the
Right.
edge because that
Yeah.
compromises
And if this
the code
is-
required height.
Right.
And, when you're that high on a wall.
Yeah,
But I'll-
just something to check on.
Absolutely.
May change your seating arrangement.
Yeah.
Well, it could also get into if it's considered furniture, like if it's not permanent versus something built in. Again, I don't know if there's a distinction there.
There
We can
is
check into
actually a
that.
distinction there, because we've been through it before on a roof deck, but
Okay.
I want to make sure that it's a really good question.
Okay.
Because indeed, the reason for the railing is, A, to be decorative, but also B, that is actually at a height off of Heights Road that you would
Yeah.
get that railing.
Yeah, it's 42 minimum.
Exactly, yep.
So let's stay on the idea of that corner and railings and that actual column right there. Depicted there, the column, the bluestone is trimmed to meet the width of the actual column, and in other
Yes, yeah.
places, it has an overhang, as it would be more appropriately. What is the intention of it? Is it going to be trimmed to actually match the
No.
column width, or will there be an overhang? 'Cause in some places,
That's a good question. You're picking up on
overhang.
a really, fine grained detail, but you're right. No, the intention is actually that it is, that the edge of that bluestone actually is proud of the column facades, or that it's wider,
Okay,
Triplet.
than the column facade. So you'll see drips, you'll see a shadow line there.
okay.
It is,
It's called
gosh,
the
we didn't
rendering
catch that in the
half
rendering
time.
process.
The
Yeah, the rendering
half time.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It's not a. Just simply
It's not
terminates
flush.
with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not flush. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
In a more, again, we're going to detail here, but that bluestone, if it's shown completely flat, will have a tendency to accumulate some frost and ice and stuff, and it'll crack in the middle. Is that going to be slightly profiled with, super shadow pyramid to get the water out, or something like that?
It should be. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking
And
about.
that's very hard to put in a rendering, by the way.
Right,
It
right,
just
right.
takes a long time in SketchUp to
That's a
just
good question.
create these things. But,
Yes.
But it will give it a little bit more oomph,
Yeah.
just have a little,
As opposed to just a flat thing all the
it's
way
not
across.
flat.
Yep.
The railings. So these railings here they're all black metal railings. When you go to the other railing drawn by Seymour's, you add a wood element to the railing alongside the potential feature wall. So if you go to your lovely renderings, go to page
The one with the
4,
purple trees.
Oh, this one here?
one with all the trees
Yeah,
you
that one
see
shows
fish.
it, that one
So I-
shows it, but there's another rendering.
So you're seeing where the wood cap is going down the
Yeah.
stairs?
Mhm. So why the wood cap?
I didn't catch that.
Wow. I didn't. Gosh, Liz, you. Another mea culpa.
I drove by this 10
That's
times today. I'm
incorrect.
so sorry.
That's incorrect. That railing is, and we've got railings now that off of West coming down alongside Walgreens that are all black. And that railing off of West and the railing, between Gregory's Coffee and Seymour's are all black, all the same. I didn't catch that. I was focused on everything else, but that is not intended to be a wood cap on a black metal railing. It's intended to be black metal as, the
rest of it.
spindles and the rest of it look like.
Actually, the railing and the rendering, it doesn't look totally black. It looks like it has a bit of a bronze finish, which is pretty nice. So I don't know exactly if it's right on the first one.
Yeah, I pointed that too.
So it's not as severe as a black.
But all the railings are all consistent across the site.
Correct.
And they're all black.
Okay.
They are, but I'll confirm, because you're right, that's showing up a little bit, that's reading differently.
This one.
It's reading
That's the
differently.
tough thing
Yeah.
with renderings.
Let me make sure of that, but
Corrections, right.
he certainly had the spec, so.
I mean, there's one thing to say, all railings have to match around the site, but you could also create a special atmosphere at that one terrace. This one is framed very specially for Seymour, and if the material is the same, but it has a different tone, I don't know what the board thinks about that, or what you guys think about it, but it could be a little softer than the black. It could have its own identity.
Indeed.
Just a thought.
I don't know.
Say
Anyone
keep
else?
it the same.
Yeah, because you got the other rail by
Yeah,
by
but then
Gregory.
and then it's got to transition at some
That's
point.
just because it's a bank.
See, it's amazing, because on the larger
yeah.
print, it looks darker than
Yeah, I
the
guess
smaller
they do.
print.
These are
That's your
black.
Xerox.
Right, they should all be black.
They should all be black.
Right.
Yeah, just consistency, I think.
Okay.
At least my,
Brown here.
I got one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The lighting on the wall. When you first presented those round button lights, I thought they were neat. I thought they fit with the actual, style of the building you were going for and the function of it. But now looking at them on this greater facade, they almost feel like gumdrops on a wall. And I wondered if you would consider a more vertical lighting element there.
Sure.
And possibly one that casts up light even on those pillars to kind of,
Sure.
right, versus, and by the way, this is me speaking as a solo member. How does anyone
No,
else
it's
feel?
like submarine right now.
Anya, you seem like
Well, I think that it's very clearly making a nod to the nautical element in a very subtle way, and so I appreciate that. Despite the fact that I don't love nautical, like I understand its purpose here, but that's not to say that there aren't things that can do the same that are vertical, right? So
I think you can get those.
You can make them a long.
yeah.
Could you look into giving us another option for those? One or two options? Yeah, like Mr. Humphrey just said, like an oval one, or even like a square vertical one. The nautical theme, I agree on. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it fit, but just
All the way down the side of the building now. It's no longer functional over by it.
right. Yeah. I mean, only in the only where they're depicted here.
They go all the way,
Yeah.
you like them now, all the way to there?
No, I'm saying to rethink all those across the entire.
Yeah, we've
consistent.
got them on every pile out.
Right,
They've got
they-
them on every pile out.
Except for the one on the end,
Yeah.
they stop here.
Oh,
I would actually, I think to that point, I would question whether they're needed on the brick pilasters, because they're not performing any specific function.
That's true.
And assuming that the stair has
Other
its own
than-
lighting.
Other than depending on what kind of a light fixture you have, these could become more architectural,
Yeah,
up, down.
yeah, I mean, I'm not
And then it would
I don't have a
make sense to
strong-
put them.
strong opposition to it,
Right.
I'm just saying that if,
Dave Leslie said the
We can,
exact same
we can
thing.
look
She
at a
just
different
said
light
that, too.
what's
fixture.
that?
Said the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, I like them all the way. I thought it brought the whole building together. Otherwise, I feel like I don't want to be a forgotten side just because pedestrians aren't there. I mean, that is a main wall that everyone
Right,
We'll see.
relates with. Yeah, so I don't want it to feel like it was forgotten.
okay.
But it's just odd that there's no deck, that it's got pedestrian
Yeah.
pathway
Waiting, or it's more like just
30
maybe not.
feet in the air.
I fight you on that.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I do enjoy the purples and reds of the planting palette, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This retaining wall as a side is very ominous. Is it possible to plant staked English ivy?
Ooh, that's a good suggestion. To be sure, and we gave you a lot of what may look like the same rendering, but I'll add, this is sort of like a game my kids used to play with, no two pictures are the same, you gotta figure it out. We've taken the trees out of this
Right.
in order to accurately, or at least more comprehensively depict what's happening in the facade, but, so we do have some additional, we actually have some additional plantings down front that come up along that wall, as well as an actual tree. Where that is in its maturity, we'll buy it obviously a little bit less of a height, so you're probably 2 or 3 seasons in looking at that tree. But that's a great question. Indeed, the lavender that you're seeing sort of down there, that lavender, that's not going anywhere. That's correct. That's actually here. It's in shade though because of the sort of the purple, the bushes that are coming up. But the idea of ivy is not a bad idea at all, because that is, we've got some height there.
We've got some height.
Yeah.
And then the color of the lawn furniture, the furniture, the reds, the light blues, is it possible to stick with our more woods? They're kind of starting to look like Stamford Mall with the reds and the blues and the yellows.
So.
Can we do more organic and with the black umbrellas with the black and white awning? I think
Oh,
it would
that's
be a
it.
better.
More chic.
So these were the furniture colors here, the Adirondack chairs, and then these were the bistro chairs.
Oh, yeah.
This is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Great.
I think we should do something in the black natural,
Not great.
so that we're not, I mean, it's a pretty big corner, so that you're not advertising a red Adirondack chair.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the red.
Jay was the one that wanted the red.
He did. But I think,
It's just.
I think we'll go out on a limb and say
Sure.
you'd probably be you'd probably be fine to go
I
with
think
black
we kind
too.
of like the idea of it being a little bit more of a,
A pop, right?
yeah. But
Yeah, our subtle storybook town is what we're trying to keep, not a city of Stanford.
Totally get
And
it.
that's the city of Stanford, and they can pass out to them. I think we have something a little.
Yeah, you're not saying, you don't want to be like City Stanford, you want to be Darien.
Yeah.
And
Storybook town.
do our own look, feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's,
I'm not crazy about the red, sorry.
it's just trendy.
Yeah.
The red is trendy.
Right,
Yeah.
and if you want something that is more of a,
Like 1020 downtown.
So we could change the color of the Adirondack chairs. I think the other colors are from the development, right? The green and the white, or is it? Or no, I'm sorry. This is the same style. These are
it's
our
the same,
colors.
it's the Parisian
Right.
chair, but those are your colors,
Right.
correct?
These are our colors.
The sort of turquoise-ish
Right.
and the white.
I agree
Right.
with Leslie that black, if you did a black awning for the, or canopy for the umbrellas, and you did black chairs and the white tables, it would look very classy.
With the wood.
Black, those chairs is black, and I only push back on that. In that location, nobody's gonna wanna sit on them.
But with a wood seat and
Inside.
black trim.
No.
Oh, because of the heat?
Yeah, I have that material in black in my backyard, and
For the
my kids
Parisian
have accidentally sat down on them before, and there's tears involved.
Yeah, chair marks on there a little bit.
Yeah, it's hot, yeah.
If it's a cost, then Adirondack Chairs.
I would be okay with the teal for the cafe chairs, but yeah, I'm in agreement that the Adirondack chairs could be.
No problem.
Well, Ms. McCall was just saying that if they're a composite material, the black doesn't get hot. Are yours real wood?
No, mine are that material.
The composite, and the
Yeah,
black
they're
gets hot?
composite, and they're black, and they're brutal.
But they have some more subtle colors than this to choose from.
I
That's
believe
the
there are.
problem.
They're gray.
Yeah. Well, something, more subtle maybe, I don't know. And then a
Yeah,
lot
wood.
of colors,
Wood
that
works.
I mean, I love the look of the black, I just really spent money on the black ones, and I'd probably buy them again.
There are other colors. I don't have
Okay.
the color chart.
I'll just write a note to come back with another color option. Okay, talk to Jay, good. So we can keep going.
would be good. Yeah.
Okay. What are we saying about the chairs, the colors on the chairs? Different color options on those too, or just the Adirondacks?
You guys like the green and white? Black and white?
I'm okay with the green and white for the cafe chairs, yeah. Personally, the splash of color, I think, let's not tone it down too much, folks. You know, those splash colors are nice.
Yeah.
Even though the umbrellas are now black.
Yeah.
I think we should go for other colors.
That's
Is it
it.
for the Seymours? Like for
Yeah.
the,
If the umbrellas are black and then the aqua chairs,
that's their color though, right? That's the blue that's spec'd
So-
out in all of their locations in. I think that's like their,
I like the signature
I
color.
think.
is
that's
there
their
an
color.
option of the aqua chair with a wood component to it?
I need to check. I was just looking through the spec I have on it. I couldn't tell from this. I would have to check. I don't know the answer.
Whatever this other colors better.
Can you come back with other color options together? I don't know, just, we're gonna see you again, we're gonna see windows. I feel like the board's split on that. I'll
Okay.
tell you that. Alright. You like color, you guys are into color. I'm into less color. I'm with them. I don't know. Might come down to preference. We're gonna see you back here, have options, and then maybe we'll just play it like whatever, we'll follow what Jay says, but it sounds like the red is unanimously, no one supports the red.
Well, that's the color, red. I mean, maybe another color.
Right.
It's better.
Right,
Maybe we have
later.
a choice. Next time would be good.
Right. He's gonna come back with a choice.
Okay.
Okay. White, black. Right. Okay.
Go with the next.
Anything else, guys, on the outside?
The fish awning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now, we're part of the feature wall. That's, yeah. All right, feature wall.
So, let me hop up here because this is kind of where we really stepped in, we federal. And We wanted to present a couple options so that we can choose a direction and run with it, and assume that we would not, and I don't want to be presumptuous, but that we would not ask for your approval tonight. If indeed you like one of these and want to approve it, then by all means. What we wanted to do was present to you the two options that we've considered, and I'll start with the one that you've now seen, which is again bringing sort of light see light brick, the brick pilaster, framing this. And if you recall, and you might be able to see it on your elevation, we had a louver band here. We had some detailing here that sort of broke this up, and then generally just had the Seymour's fish sort of painted there as a gesture. And so, part of last month's or 2 months ago's conversation was do something, or I think direction, and correct me if I'm wrong. Direction was you need to look at material again that is of a higher quality, and detailing also that gives that facade some richness. And on top of that, so the architecture is sort of standing on its own, and then on top of that, the idea of something artistic. And so all the sort of right charge or challenge for us, and that's the direction we've gone here. We hope you think or agree. So what you're looking at here is a frame, in brick, sort of kind of wall. There is and in some of these, and you'll be able to see it certainly in this, we've got, we do have the stone base that gets carried throughout and will be painted, as Craig noted. And then we've added some soldier coursing here in the brick. Again, as a detail, as a framing element, and a different orientation than the other brick, to sort of, again, give it a frame, give it some richness and detail. We are proposing, we could do one of two things. We could try to find a big piece of hardy, so that you had a nice flat panel. Alternatively, what you're looking at there is brick.
I love the brick.
All the same, and the idea there was, I think we've all seen something painted on brick, and there's a richness in there, and sort of, again, the architecture of the buildings would stand on its own behind whatever might be painted there. Same exact sort of design aesthetic and orientation of brick and detailing, where this facade actually would be recessed, and you're going to ask me for a dimension, I don't know it, I can get it for you, but that facade would be slightly recessed from the pilasters and the banding that goes around, again, to sort of accentuate the idea of a frame. And we have sort of two general options that we were looking for feedback on, and may help us in terms of direction. One is a mural or a painting. This is actually, and again, I keep telling you what I don't know, which may not be helpful to the cause here, but I don't know the name of the artist, but we actually work with a group nationally that helps us engage local artists when we execute development. This is actually a fish painted by a local Darien artist. I don't know the name of that artist, certainly could provide. It's a fish that's native to the Sound as well. So that's what you're seeing, as, again, a gesture. But our thought here would be engage a local artist, perhaps this one, it's a gentleman, use something that he's done, or a piece of art that he's done, maybe riff on it a little bit. We've added some I think we said Neuron Heights train station in this one. Again, all gesture, not indeed indicative of exactly what we want to do here. But the notion of something sort of big, not loud, with too much color, so that it doesn't feel, there's a sense of timelessness to it. That's our option one. And again,
And the sidewall there.
wrapping the corner with the side, absolutely. Taking that, I think it's about 20 feet back, so that whole corner actually also stands on its own. And this doesn't feel like an afterthought. Option number two, let's see if I got the close up of this one. I want to give you the similar look. Option number two was a sculptural element that would be proud of the facade. And again, riffing on Seymour's being seafood, we're sticking with sort of the fish theme and what we're showing you. But this sculptural element would be proud of the facade. This is what we're showing you is metal. It's actually also by, and not an artist in Darien, but an artist in Fairfield. And then we would have some sort of uplighting or downlighting, so that at night, because it was proud of the facade, there'd be this sort of movement and shadow lines created, so it would have some richness to it. So those are the two options that we have sort of gone down a path on, and would appreciate your thoughts, would appreciate sort of helpful direction, and would expect if generally the rhythm of the facade, the materiality of those pilasters being something that is approved tonight, coming back, I'm assuming that we're coming back on this because we need to iterate a little bit on this and get it done correctly.
Before the
Jeremy.
board,
Yep.
I wanted to make sure, first of all, to appreciate all this work. This is a huge amount of work to do this. There used to be a pilaster in the middle of that blank panel,
Yes.
which I'm glad is gone because
Took it
that
out.
is great.
Right.
It was not
It
structural.
broke it up
so,
too much.
That's something we talked about at last meeting. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a little
They're
ticky-tacky thing sort of applied.
Right. There were also two major mechanical louvers there.
Yes.
And these are not needed anymore? I
No, they're gonna-
only the
they're gonna
side
be on-
one is okay?
They're on the other, around the corner.
Okay,
on the back side.
so that's important. I want to make
Yeah,
sure
we made
confirm
sure that we wanted to clear
So
that.
now you have that really clean canvas to
Right.
work with, which is
Right.
fantastic. So I just
Yeah.
wanted
That was
to-
intentional.
Like that.
And the rest is for the board to make.
Right. Great observation.
Right, okay.
All right, you're good.
Rebecca Morrison. I really like that the way that you oriented the brick on the bottom, but I really would love to see that orientation also on the top to make it stand out
Okay.
like a
That soldier, that
yeah,
soldier
the
course,
soldier brick,
yeah.
so that it really makes it look like it's like a painting where it has a purpose.
Yes.
So that's number one. Number two, I really like the idea of the sculptural element better than the
I do too.
painting.
I do too.
But I really, and for several reasons. Number one being, like, I've done a mural that was very large. It requires a lot of maintenance, and if it's something by an artist, then it becomes, and it's something eventually the town becomes attached to, it becomes tricky to maintain that piece of art. And so having dealt with these before, I find it a little bit cumbersome and challenging, especially to try to maintain it on the long term. But I guess then to go the other direction, I would want to make sure that the fact that the sculpture had some sort of mapping system where we were able to paint behind it on a more as needed basis. And I do like the idea that the background behind, personally, the background behind that sculptural element isn't in that white, that it was feasibly a color, but not just such a dark color.
Okay.
Something that makes it stand out, where it reads differently than the rest of the building, that you really realize it's a piece of art, but it doesn't need to be, super green. So purposely, some sort of a muted color.
Got it. Yeah, so it's not quite this just flat, blank, white.
But still in brick versus that.
Sure, which is what we're showing here is it a continuous piece of Hardy, a continuous piece of AZAC.
No, it should be brick.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm apparently incredibly contrarian tonight. Okay. So I like to paint a brick, and the reason why was not knowing the history behind like the artists and everything else. It reminded me of New York City buildings where you have those vintage signs painted on the brick, and you'll see them still on a corner here, and they're maybe a little bit more weathered and a little bit more decrepit. But I was like, oh, that could be an interesting way to. The thing is like I think faking history is near impossible, so I don't know that it would be able to translate well. But kind of the idea of like, oh, what if that was like a vintage-inspired fish market sign, as if it had been there for years. Again, it's hard to throw on a brand new building and pretend. So I don't think that it would be good, but that's my feeling with the building. I was like, oh, it kind of looks like maybe it was here for a while. Maybe this used to be, the old fish processing tuna factory of Darien that was before. You know what I mean?
Fish
Our
market.
cannery.
But like our cannery, But like, I mean, it's kind of an industrial building. It's brick.
It's just hard to maintain that. that,
Yeah.
having
Okay, it's
been
good.
in retail for many a year.
Yeah.
The maintenance becomes very large.
The lighting, the way you handle that at night, the sculptural one, the way it's going to move somehow or other with the lighting, I thought that was very effective.
So
And
with
is
the
that
lighting on that,
what's gonna? How is you going to do that? It's going to be up and down light, and this.
So.
How are you going to get them to move the shadows or whatever?
The honest answer is we haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
We're showing some, is that a gooseneck? Yes, what you're looking at, but it wants to be probably uniformly washed.
yeah,
So the rhythm,
I would like to
It would
see
have
it
to
out
be
the
a linear.
goosenecks. I think
Yeah.
let
Okay.
those
It has to be
fish
contemporary.
live on their own without
Yeah.
that extra element above them. So I don't know how quite you like that, but whatever it is, I think it shouldn't be the goosenecks.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's a sculptural option.
Yeah, yeah.
and if indeed we do that, I think it would be great to uplight it. The trick there is such that we uplight it in a way, directionally, that we don't end up, these folks having light.
Yes.
That comes into question what depth that is. You
Yes.
asked earlier, and that's important. Like, her and I were discussing that. You need like an 8 to 12-inch depth there almost to put in proper lighting that would,
That would wash without just sort of like uplighting the whole thing
Yeah.
like it's,
and high, yeah.
yeah.
What did you build a channel? Could you build a channel, like if you're gonna,
So that, I would,
you channel it?
You could build a channel and sort of hide it within that
Right.
channel as you're suggesting, and you could probably do it either up here
I would do
or
it
down
as
below.
a downlight and
Yeah.
channel it.
Good,
What's
that's
really
fish
nice
Yeah, you can
colors
get some nice
on.
wall wash fixtures.
Yeah.
The LEDs that really did that much.
What's really nice about the sculpture is that actually kind of wrap the corner.
Yeah.
And that is something that a mural
Yeah,
will
that's
not be able to do, is
Right.
just kind of
It's
take that
graceful.
column and just kind of softly wrap around. So that's a nice three-dimensional
Could you
perception.
put some subtle color in that though, and then some of the metal?
We could color the
fishes?
fish.
In the actual, so to your, I think
So I
the
don't
comment
think this is
earlier
the
was
final
on the
version.
background, but your comment is on, could the fish,
Yeah, make the fish a little, paint something on the edges or
Add a
something.
red fish to match the
Red
red.
Ah,
Red fish, blue
What
fish.
about ivy on that wall?
ivy on
You
that.
don't want to,
I mean, if
you
we,
don't want to compare, but ivy would ruin that.
Ivy down below.
Ivy
I was
coming
taking your
up.
suggestion
Below.
I
earlier
was
to
trying
be
to,
down
it's just a
here.
lot of white.
Well, I think the white will be gone. I think the point is like not pictured there is there's no brick.
Yes.
I think Ms. Morrison said, well, continue the brick and also painting it, the brick in a color
Some-
that's not a white.
Yeah, some
So it's
background
its
color.
own
That's
feature
right.
wall. I think that will change so it's not so stark.
Yes,
Right, exactly.
and that's so stark or
Right,
bright.
and then you remove the lights, you continue it around the corner, do that same treatment on around the side with the brick and the paint color.
Yep.
So you don't like the idea of
Look into
having the
the-
fish colored a little bit? That would make it look better, no?
Or
No,
you could fill in with it. I mean, this is so conceptual.
Just, if an artist is doing that, for you to tell the artist, like, well,
No, I know.
can you make that
Yeah, I
red?
know,
You know,
I know, yeah.
I think as an artist that I would bow to what the artists.
I would, I mean, I'll put my last 2 cents in, but there's, in the awning, originally I thought the awning was black and white, but there's like the awning material the sample you passed around, it's actually sort of like
Gray.
light gray,
Little gray, yeah.
right? That I might
Right.
look into
That.
painting the
Green,
background,
no matter what.
Something like that.
that color.
Yeah, picking that up so that there's a nice tie-in.
Yes,
between- Yeah, sure.
One thing, I don't know if you're able to work in if we go the sculpture, it sounds like everyone is more favorable to the sculpture route, the depth of that, and the option there. By the way, though, Anya, I agree with you why the painting was a cool option. I liked it for the same reasons, but I thought we're trying to remake history,
Yeah.
and so because of that, I was like, it's not us, it would be, if it had been done a long time ago, anyways. But if you're going with the sculpture one, I did love how you had Norton Heights train station on there. I thought that was really cool. And we've never done that anywhere, and it really brings in the quaint neighborhood feel. I don't know if there's a way to incorporate that, it might just be my
Sure.
opinion. But if somehow Norton Heights train station was again, even like painted, or I have no idea, but I thought that was a really cool intimate feature that made it,
It's just a sign, what was
But-
it? Just a sign.
it's just a
of
name,
Norton
what?
Heights.
We just had.
But it's not the train station.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess
Right.
that's,
Yeah, it's
It just
awesome,
seemed
but
like-
you're at,
Yeah.
this is, the whole point of this development being successful is that it's like, it's the working of the train station. It's this center exists because the train station's there. There wasn't a train station stop, this center would exist, there would be no neighborhood there. So like, you can't think of this development on its own without thinking of the train station. And I'm hoping in the future that we as a town start to develop that passageway and that train station so the two interact better and it becomes more of
I certainly hope we see the train station
a.
be improved a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was a neat time, even though it wasn't the train station. I know the train station.
Yeah. No, I was like, yeah, but yeah, I was like,
But like,
are we naming something just for the sake of
Yeah,
naming?
it's one more sign.
Alright. Okay, so do you have enough, I wrote ideas down.
I think so.
I can summarize for you too on a letter, but.
Perfect. I think that's great. And I think it probably allows Seymour's to continue. And I'm actually saying this, we're only asking it for Seymour's to continue and for us to to work on this and bring it back to you as we evolve it appropriately. Right,
The
Greg? I
depth
think
will be key. The depth of that wall and the depth of the sculpture will really become a key,
Okay.
to how they all interact.
So just to clarify though, that's just a representative sculpture, or is this, like if the board was favorable to what is being shown now, is that something that, you're ready to commission that artist to do? Or I'm just thinking in future presentations, is there going to be like a competition or something for that corner? I'm curious how that sculptural aspect will be incorporated and developed and basically designed.
So we've done both murals, big, large format paintings, as well as sculptural elements on buildings, and typically this is our process. So
Just
for discussion.
Yeah.
Typically, what we end up doing is we'll go to 2 or 3, and if we're going this route, we'll go to 2 or 3 metal sort of artists that work in the metal medium, and ultimately ask them for a concept or two, and then make a judgment based on that concept and really their portfolio work. Because the concept, most of those artists are artists, and they take a pencil out and sort of, draw something up, and it's never, hey, is that 6 inches proud? Is it 12 inches? What's the size? What's that metal? Like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. And so that's typically the process that we want. We'll land on one, and then refine that concept and bring it back to you for review and approval.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
One question I have.
Yep.
Is there any separation between the two? If like that decision ends up taking longer than Seymour's, or are they together?
No, we can treat the feature wall on its own.
Okay.
We'll see you in October. I'll put in a letter to hash the details of the window, some of the color things, but like, you have approval on your facades. We'll look at the lighting source, so you guys can move on.
We have direction, right?
Yeah. The only thing that would affect though is the interior built-in, about that depth of the wall. If you need more space in that wall for to run a channel, like will that go into Seymour's operable space in the kitchen?
Yeah, we can.
That would be a question.
We can work something out.
Yeah.
That's where the bathrooms are. That's why there's
Yeah.
no windows. So I think
Yeah,
there's
okay,
a couple inches to give for
Okay.
something like that.
okay, cool.
In fact, we probably could even start with a little bit of an exaggerated precedent, so that you can
We
run.
can figure
You
something
can
out.
run with yours, and we can run with this. And if we need to, we're going out as opposed to in.
Yeah. Smart.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Put all in a letter. All right, we're gonna move fast here. ARB 35, 2022, we got the Darien Public Library. Introduce yourself. Hi. Introduce yourself for the record and what your company is. And
Hi, I'm Kira Parrott, Director at Darien Library, 1441 Post Road. Also my colleague Claire Morris Salgado, who's the Head of Children's Services at Darien Library.
Claire, how do you spell your last name?
Moore and then Salgado.
MORESA.
So more Moore and then Salgado Salgado.
All right. We've seen the presentation, we know what it is. Do you just want to give us a brief overview of what you want, what you're asking?
Sure, we're essentially asking for permission to keep up these story walks, which are the 19 wooden holders for the storybooks for our storybook town, along the Hecker Avenue side of the library. We've had them up sort of seasonally, up and down. We would like to keep them in most of the year to be able to have the story walk and the different stories represented for parents and caregivers all year long.
Okay. Comments?
Just concerned about weatherability, but I mean, I love the idea. Like the idea is adorable. So.
They're really cute. They're really loved. They are made of cedar, and they have been weather treated, and they've actually been winterized. The first iteration was not winterized, which is why they were seasonal. And then the carpenter we've worked with went back and made it such that they are now, water and snow and frost proof, so they actually can withstand a New England winter.
And how do you cover the artwork and print material? Do you have that under plastic?
So the story, the storybook itself, first of all, is laminated, so it has an extra protection,
Right.
and then there is plexiglass on the top of the structures, and they are fitted airtight underneath that as well. So kind of two different.
And then there are like weeps at the bottom for drainage and all that.
Yes, that's right, and they were installed by Vic Pensiero, our building engineer. You may know him.
I think these are wonderful. I think the experience you're trying to do here is a great idea. My problem here in general, you're not gonna love this, is the experience is this. A woman walking by in a stroller on the sidewalk, not close to it. It's like they were put just enough on their property, but close to the sidewalk, so people don't know whether to step on the goose kind of poop grass, or the sidewalk. I think, unfortunately, if you guys are gonna do this right, and create an experience, which I think the idea is, you gotta bring this on the lawn and put up stone pavers and make it an experience. Bring it on the grass and and put them on each side so you're walking along the side of the library, it doesn't mind, and make it an experience and bring people on your property and set up nice pavers so they don't have to walk in the goosey.
Right.
No, it's more work, but
I think that's a great idea, and I think Vic, for long term, I think having that actual walkway would be quite lovely. And that's definitely something we can do. I can talk to Vic about installing them.
Or move them closer to the sidewalk.
Well, that's what I thought I was like, should we push them closer so
but they're on town property, on the sidewalk and maintenance.
Right,
and
they
you're
have to
gonna,
be very close, yeah.
Mhm.
That might be.
I mean, and then for children too, walking on a sidewalk. If I was a mom with my child, I'm like, oh, be careful, the car's coming. Like, I'd be scared every time a car came by. And also the height of them, they seem a little maybe tall for a child. I don't know if there's a way to get them down to their 6 inches.
Yeah, I mean, one comment I would make is, I think the way that these are put in the ground is not ideal for a permanent structure like this. I think I've seen some of them lean. I mean, this I think is just like a.
So they need like a proper footing.
I mean, if this is going to be permanent, even if you maybe take them out during the winter, something that is a little bit more of a permanent foundation for the posts. So these I think is just a long stake and you put in the ground, which is okay, but especially if this is going to be permanent and the kid might, jump up and pull on it, this is going to move. So yeah, I think the idea of it is great. I think the execution of it should get a little bit of tweaking. It's good that you were able to weatherproof it. I don't know whether like a custom cover for these over the winter might help preserve them over time. There's a look to be considered for that as well, but just, again, if they're going to be permanent, trying to keep them in the best shape would be good. But yeah, maybe in conjunction with creating a walkway, which I think is a great idea, go through the expense of putting in something that's a little bit more of a permanent foundation for these.
I guess my question, I didn't really think about it, but I mean, having my children, are much older now, but I mean, I never approached the library by foot. And I agree with Liz, I guess my thought, and knowing how my children interacted, I would be afraid of that street. Do you guys get a lot of foot traffic on that side of the street, or would it be better to think about feasibly, I mean, you have the courtyard, obviously, with the tables and the fountain, and that, to me, the fountain was always sort of a place where kids congregated, but it's a little bit, to a certain extent, safer, right, where there wouldn't be such a liability issue. It's almost like these belong in a fenced-in area where you aren't afraid of your child running. I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Or even having it maybe closer to the building and having it planted in a way that feels safer for kids.
Yeah.
But if we're changing locations and heights and maybe re-winterizing, I remember the first time I drove by them, and they have that polyurethane yellow feel to them. not to join on Leslie's yellow-orange stain, but I do think, like winterized in a more classic cedar color would be great, but I think this is a great idea. Like, I do like it. I just think it needs tweaking, right? Reworking.
I mean, it sounds like because there's limited options in the courtyard because it's all paved. There's not a whole lot of places, but if we push it actually maybe closer to the building, put in some paving pathways, lower them, make it a little bit more, like that sounds like
Could be a great
a
way
better
to have
permanent,
Also,
yeah.
do they have to be in a line, or can they actually have a bit of organic quality along
can, I mean,
as a
we-
storytelling?
yeah.
You're not-
Yeah.
So the history
Storytelling
behind
is very
them.
meandrous, it's not
Right.
really,
Yes, I like that.
it's a little
yeah.
rigid.
So the history
Yeah.
behind them is story walks are going to happen even on a trail. So they don't have to be side by
Right,
side. But
right.
we,
That-
you
that
know,
would be
the
much
space
better.
under work.
And right now, they're all facing the street for
Yes.
some reason. Why, if there is a walkway that's defined closer to the building, why couldn't they sometimes face back into the inside?
Oh,
Because right now, the cars can't read what's happening anyway, so if you have an alternating side, it just tells you when you go across, and
Right.
it starts to be a little,
With the
Yeah,
curving, with
right.
the curving
And it's-
pathway, you would have to have that
Right.
naturally. You'd be.
Right,
what
it's
you were,
sort of
what you were saying
pathway,
also
serpentine
earlier about
is.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
That
a
was
great
it.
like placemaking thing where people can come into the library, go outside,
Right,
walk, meander, go back in, go to the cafe,
You have
get
a
a
chair.
coffee. Like there's
Right.
something community building. I think that you guys are like kind of on, right?
Right.
So I think it's
if you had a path that's defined with some edging,
Right.
with little edging or planting edging, so that the kids could feel like surrounded by something, they wouldn't be running off to run into the street. So
Right.
it starts to become its own.
So not a fence, but a
So
more
it's a whole big
organic
project, in other
with
words.
plants.
Yeah, maybe we spent a whole lot of money.
Just quadrupled.
We just went up in the budget.
Yeah, no.
Like a privet hedge.
No.
So it loses its leaves in the winters, not rather than an evergreen.
Right.
I'm going to say something that'll be bad again. I find that the light wood just jumps away, and you don't see, it takes away from your eye from the artwork. And if you're going to put it closer to the brick library, you might think in terms of having it something that blends into the brick.
Like a darker stain.
Color.
Yeah, I think across the
And it
board.
wouldn't jump out at you like this. And if you have a wonderful pathway, you'd have the different angles, and you might have to even have a chair or something else.
Well, it could just be that the wood that's backing up the laminated story is a darker color, and then it's framed with the cedar.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could be
Well, it should be.
something subtle that helps make the
Should be
pages pop a
more
little bit.
brick-like, a little more, I'd say, a little more reddish.
It's something in general, the board is not liking the yellow tone of the wood. So
Right.
consider another, yeah. And something that draws out the color of the building. The building brick is beautiful.
Right.
Those tones.
Right, you want to make sure the artwork just jumps out too. You're not thinking of all of the stuff around it.
Right. No, I like this. I think that sounds quite beautiful. And to your point about sort of creating this community building and this moment for people to really, and that side lawn has just not been, it's just there. It doesn't really do anything. We've been trying to figure out a way to actually make some of that space useful.
Well, I like Anya's idea that you could come from the front and actually get from the back to the front of the library by that experience. You
Right,
could connect
right.
the two because no one ever either goes through, so
Right.
that would be very cool.
It does look like it's somewhat sloped though, so if you're gonna make this walk, you're gonna have to bench cut, and it's getting.
Darien kids are going to
This
face
is
a
what's
little
called
slope.
scope creep, so it's, but I think it would be a vast improvement, yeah.
I will add to the toughness of Darien kids. You gotta learn to walk on a little slope sometimes, kids.
We're just gonna do
Can't
big
do everything
chops
for
of
you
it,
here.
where you get to the story.
You could just take the natural line of the existing bed that's there and make that your one side of your pathway. And then do 4 feet out to do a second.
Instead of the brick
And just
color.
keep that circuitous.
Paint it black.
I haven't walked that bed in a while, so I'm not sure, but that would be easy. And then it's already planted.
Right.
One side is already planted.
Right. You just have to do that other. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some ideas. Thoughts,
Okay.
questions?
What are our next steps? I mean, would we come up with a plan?
I would work with,
several plans?
another plan, architectural landscaper, or whoever, I don't know,
Okay.
something to put together like a rough drawing for you guys and come back. Before you flush it out too much, do you guys want to come back or even send it through to Hervé and Planning and Zoning? We can talk about
Okay.
we can do an informal process review. You know, you guys are, a non-for-profit. You don't need to be spinning your wheels on something like this. So.
Okay.
So let's work closely with Hervé when you've got ideas, or even if you have if you need landscape architect ideas. I mean,
Okay.
Leslie is one, by the way.
Excellent.
Well done when you're in town. So I'll put in a letter
Okay.
for you guys to come back. I'll put our ideas in there, and then we can talk informally and kind of keep the door open how you guys want to proceed.
All right.
But probably show us another plan.
Okay.
And look at other samples of stains, wood colors, what your options are there.
Maybe you might do it gradually, do a little bit, and then so you don't get, so you work it out.
Right. Well, for budget reasons, we may have to do it gradually,
Yeah.
step by step,
Yeah.
one at a time.
I think the gold
of it.
paper would be beautiful.
Very lovely.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, ARB number 37, 2022. We have Jessica Chang. Now, maybe not from
I'm
Harry
actually
Potter.
stepping in for Jessica Chang. I'm Jessica Miller.
Okay, give me a weird look, okay? You're Jessica Miller?
Jessica Miller.
Jessica.
Yeah, so I'm Senior Stores Design Manager at Warby Parker. So I'm here today representing Jessica Chang for adding tints to the above transom windows at our upcoming store at Darien Commons. We have sent you guys samples of the glass. I
Pass
don't know if
them
you've
around.
ever seen them.
Yep, pass them around.
So we have 4 different tints, and I've actually just kind of wrote them on here because I realized they weren't labeled for you guys to see. Let me just pass them in the box.
Did you guys speak, the biggest concern is not having a full schematic here of the building on the top and the buildings on the side. Did you provide that in the meantime?
So
That's going to limit our
we
conversation.
do actually have one.
I was going to say maybe we should,
I don't know about cutting people's fingers.
Oh, it is, yeah, watch out.
So this one, they're in a very heavy box, which we did
These are
receive.
smaller samples also, so it's easier for
Are
me
they
to have
the
these.
same exact color?
They're the same exact
I'm gonna
color.
I'm going to give these back to you.
Okay, yep,
So
I can
that
take
won't
those
be
for sure,
stored.
yeah.
And I know they're expensive.
And here are
Which one
the
is
smaller
that?
ones.
Is that the midnight blue, the bright blue? the
So-
azure?
there's 4 of them, it's hard to know.
There are 4 of them. So the darkest one is the midnight.
That's like the mirror, right?
That's midnight.
These are the
Yep.
things. I can just take
You know
them.
what? If you guys want to, this might be easier to see them all at the same time.
Okay, that's
Oh,
perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
Good idea.
And so the darkest one is the midnight, and then the second to darkest is the bright, and then the azure, and then the summer is the latest.
Okay.
Thank you. And then passing around kind of full context of what it looks like with neighboring tenants and the above facade
Right.
materials. So we have done this application before in a couple of our, just a few of our stores before, and it just adds a nice little like hint of color, a little tint, a little bit of nice delight to the store. So we wanted to kind of bring a little bit more brain element into the storefront to go along with the blue powder coated storefront.
Now, you guys just got a custom storefront, that was unique for this building. You know that?
Yes, I do know that, yeah.
Okay. We just did a special approval to make the front of your building blue, like no other building in this development.
I do know that.
You want to make the storefront more unique?
Yes,
Just
our
to
brand,
clarify as we're going.
yes, our brand team likes to push it as much as we can, but this we're kind of looking just to do a little bit of it's just really just a little added element to it. These tints can be removed easily and cleaned, so they're permanent, but they can be easily removed, so it's not like a permanent installation or any kind of feature.
Are they hiding something?
So there's a soffit beyond. It's about, I think, 3 feet back from the facade. And we couldn't really do any art or anything on there. A lot of times we like to bring art to our facades, so we were just looking to add in the colors to kind of.
But the actual, it's not hiding those colored glasses, isn't hiding ductwork, it's not hiding.
No, it's not, no. It's just a white soffit, yeah.
Your-
Yeah.
Here, why not? I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering if just,
And did you want to get, I think there's one already circulated. Do you have
yeah,
this as
this,
well?
I think, does everybody have?
Okay, great.
I'm wondering if just above the door, I mean, it seems like a bit much. just above the door, like 3 colors, or, and then allow, that at least to me would help define the entry a little bit. I don't know, it's just, looking at the rendering is very helpful in terms of depicting how it would interact with the other facades.
I personally think it's a lot, but I think the most I could compromise would be, to me, to make that transom area frosted and maybe in the lightest color, blue, or just frosted throughout, but too much from the colorway.
Yeah, so you're saying just over the Warby Parker, potentially, those 3 colors. Yeah, I agree.
If I were to go for adding the color.
I think what's being presented is too much in consideration of everything that's adjacent to it. And again, especially because the facade is already dark blue.
Yeah, could these colors even be like incorporated into like the interior so that, you're seeing in and like these colors are represented but not like right up in your face. So
It's drawing your eye to your storefront, but it's also drawing your eye above your store. So
yeah.
But I think that to me, that's why there's a nice, in my mind, a nice element to being that top, those transom, being none of those, but like just a frosted glass, because I think the starkness between the clear glass and the navy blue storefront throughout might be a lot, but if you made that transom like the lightest, even a light blue frosted element above that, I agree, it'd be okay.
Yeah, because right behind there is just going to be a white soffit, so that's going to be really stark too, yeah.
Right, so
yeah.
if it was like a light blue, but, I mean, what you're showing in the light blue and this guy here is not what's over there.
So these also, which we found out after they were made, is that they were double-sided with the tint, and typically we only do one side of the tint. It is very subtle once you see them installed.
About this is closer.
Maybe I thought it was easier. So like that is a big difference. Oh wait, maybe this one was one-sided. Maybe that one was double-sided.
Yeah, hold on, I'm just trying to put it back in.
So this one maybe wasn't, maybe that one is. I was told that one of them was then double-sided.
The white in the back, it really changes the perception.
Well, the white in the back, it's
Yeah, it goes
more-
by, right, digging up.
worse.
So there's a solid white soffit behind
Yeah.
this whole transom.
But it's set back like 3 feet.
Yeah, it's about maybe 3 to 4 feet.
Yeah.
If it was just, if it was frosted, if you did like frosted glass, like that's still reading
Very contrasty to the white. All right, so would it be, so would you guys want to maybe look at even a lighter tint and then also a frosted, or
Okay.
just frosted?
So we'll let you come back and entertain it. As presented, it's not
No.
favorable,
Okay.
too much.
Yep.
So let's look at some options. Let's try one where you could try your 3 colors over the door as like the transom, just the
Okay.
transom. Try that.
All right.
You can do a second one where it's a single frosted color over the door.
Sounds good.
Then try a third option that's just a plain frost. Is that what you're saying? Like a plain or like a...
I'm thinking I'd like to see both either like a very light blue, like the lightest blue possible frosted glass, or just frosted clear glass.
Yep. Yeah.
But, and I would be fine with it all the way,
One solid, yeah, like one
Across.
colorway across.
even, not even just the door, like the whole.
Okay, yeah, just to really kind of tie the whole front together, yeah.
And just to set up expectations, there's a chance you might do all this work and come back and we're going to say, we don't like any of that.
Yeah,
So
no,
I just
totally
want to set it up in
I
case.
totally understand.
But
Can
I love
we
your
ask
pushing.
that the context be somehow provided, since we're asking for another submission, that somehow you can get a piece of Conair window or some of that the frame, so that we can compare the color with the.
With the
frame,
storefront
real
cladding.
against it.
Yeah.
Because color copies never
No,
get
yeah,
it
right,
to work
yeah.
with, so. So
Yep.
if we could do that, that'd be probably
Okay.
helpful to you as well, just to
Yeah.
kind of say, hey, there it is, right?
Yeah, we can definitely discuss that.
Right.
You just go with that, we'll get that to you.
Okay, that's great.
And I was a little too quick to get back to that.
All right, did you want me to take these larger samples off?
Yes,
Your
that'd
plate so you
be
don't have to have them?
wonderful,
Sure.
because we don't have place to store them in planning and zoning. They've been sitting on my side desk in the room. But they're beautiful though, I mean, they're,
We've used them in a lot of other reticular locations, some with a little bit, with clear transparency beyond too, so you don't have that white solid behind and it looks gorgeous.
he's got.
But they have photos of the, like, those nice
Exists,
case
yes.
studies.
Yeah,
so
we
that
can
way-
definitely provide photos of those, yeah.
Jessica, also what you guys did last minute, we really appreciate. You guys have been really organized and we appreciate that. It made it easy reviewing. But when you included the whole, the rendering in context,
Yes.
can you do that again?
Yes.
That was very helpful.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Along with the sample of the actual siding that Patrick helped with.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much
All right,
for
thank you
waiting.
guys. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. Very cool. All right, ARB number 38, 2022 is up next. This is Studio MD in the CBD district of downtown Darien, Central Business District. Hi, gentlemen. You guys know the drill now, but,
Yeah, I'm Jeffrey Valenti. Adam Pone couldn't make it, so I'm here from Sinorama.
okay, so Jeffrey, what's your last name?
Valenti, Valente.
Okay. From Sinorama?
Yep.
All right.
Balahan Bobus, my name is a little bit more difficult.
We're ready for it, go for it.
It's Balahan, and last name is Bobus, and I'm the management of the company.
That's not too bad there.
Yeah.
You're with the managing department?
I'm with the management of the company.
Oh, Studio MD, okay. Are you an MD?
I'm not.
Otherwise, you cannot be a.
I was gonna get a side console after
That was
this.
a trap question.
Get you in the parking lot. Get you in the parking lot, fine. That's right. Okay, sorry, let's stay on point here.
We're proposing two signs.
Okay,
The front of the store front, they're all basically going to be the same. It's black acrylic, half inch. It's all going to be flush stud mounted to the brick. There's no illumination in the sign itself. As you see, there's existing goosenecks in the front, which will light up the sign. Those are already on the building. Over here, you can see this is the building, how it is right now, without the sign on it. And then this little installation is how we were going to do the stud mount on the building. The only thing we have, this medical line, was going to be cut vinyl, like wall noodle, laminated and stuck to the brick. The back one is just the Studio MD. Again, it's all the same, half-inch black acrylic, and it's going to be flush stud mounted. It's just because of the location where it is. It's in back of Webster Bank, and then alongside of the sports shop. We just need some, when people come up through the back, they know what that building is. That's why we're requesting two signs.
okay, so I'll give you guys the background on this one. They are only allowed one sign in this zone. We have the ability, as you guys know, to approve a second sign. The second sign, though, would have to be below less than 7 square feet. Your sign there is over 9, so that sign would be too big.
Okay.
But that's just background for ARB members to know what you're looking at. Subsequently, the sign on the front can be bigger. They're allowed up to 32 square feet, and theirs is 14 on the front, so they do have room to grow on that.
Okay.
But then didn't even get into the description on the sign. So,
What's the legal name?
The legal name of the entity is Laser Touch Darien LLC. DBA is Studio MD.
So,
Studio MD is the name. I think that's what you're asking.
right, so you can't have medical aesthetics and wellness then?
That's fine.
so what you guys consider could do though is a lot of people is you could put that as a cling on the static cling on the door, on your
Or those
windows.
windows.
It's not an important factor. I mean, it's probably cleaner to do just Studio MD. I kind of like that. Maybe sometimes more anyway. So
Yeah, it is
We
good, it's
do.
cleaner.
The only other thing, which wasn't on the original plans we submitted, but we just mocked up real quickly, usually on the front door, white cut vinyl lettering. We can change the size, whatever, it just has Studio MD, and then we just mocked up some hours. I don't know what their hours of operation are gonna be, but I just wanted to make sure we can get the white cut lettering approved along with the signage.
Yes, you can. It's got to be under 10% occupation.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay.
And address.
Yeah, I think the address, we'll put the address on it. We didn't do that on this, but we'll make sure it's within that percentage.
Do we put hours usually?
Some people put hours. I mean, it's up to you. I don't know. Yeah, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, it won't be big.
And I wasn't sure whether we were going to have hours. I
just did it just so, we can try to get everything done tonight.
Yep. Okay, thanks for mentioning that.
Are you painting the facade? Looks like it needs a paint job.
About?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that like discoloration or?
I don't know. I wonder if it's the photo or is that?
It could be the photo. That guy who,
I think we
took it through.
That's the Google photo.
Yeah.
Is it?
It might have been, because when the guy took the original photo, he didn't get the door. So we might have taken it off Google on that one.
Yeah, I stopped by before I came here. I just took a photo. It's pretty clean.
It's being cleaned up.
Yeah, that other one.
Sure, yeah, I can pass it, especially Mr. Humphrey.
I think my only question is,
Better.
Yeah.
There's a giant S in there.
I think it might just be the reflection of the easement.
Yeah, it could be too. You're right.
Nadia, Marion, any other comments or?
I think my question has to do with that second sign being on the back. I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, exactly. Or my question was, so the first sign is, I'm just trying to figure out, the storefront sign is on that side.
Yeah, do you have the overhead one?
Yeah, so point to me where,
So this is the front of the building, and this is the back wall.
got it. So, but where do you expect most people to park?
I think the parking is going to be in this area generally.
Uh-huh.
So they'll be walking this way,
Uh-huh.
and they won't be seeing this sign on this side.
Yeah.
And I've stood here talking to a contractor trying to get him to find me, and it's just like.
So my
super
question,
difficult
I guess,
to
is, to me, I don't know, when I think of a sign, I'm looking for actually usually an entrance. And there's really, and I get the fact that it's around the corner.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
entrance.
So I don't know whether it would be better to either put that Studio MD sign on the, like, over on the right, towards, flush right towards the side of the door.
This one moved down? You were saying this one moved down?
Yes.
That makes sense to me too.
Yeah,
Sort of
or
like-
either that or put a blade sign so that like it's double facing so that you know that where it is, like you're able to see. So like, do you know what a blade sign is?
If we put a blade sign over here, that still may not be visible for most people that park over here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be looking at the thin side of it.
Okay. So
How big of a blade sign is required in Darien on like the maximum size, do you
I
know?
think it's like 2 feet by, it's a square footage, but it'd probably be roughly like 2 feet by a foot and a half, or square foot. Yeah. But actually, so you don't get a second sign here, so we would probably determine what that size is here, if you're gonna allow it.
Okay.
So the question becomes, I guess the first question of the board is, do you guys wanna allow a second sign on this empty wall in the first place?
Historically, like, wish list, when
Wish
that
list?
was there, did they have 2 signs? Or
We
they
did
have
approve
one?
it. I'm not opposed to it because I think we're trying to create a more pedestrian-friendly parking lot back there.
Yeah.
So I think some sort of signage could make that wall, less
it has to go to the right.
opposing, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, I would
right.
shift it over to the.
Yeah, it's the right.
Yeah, so just move this to the
Towards
right.
Towards
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
That's where
right.
the entrance.
Be closer to the entrance.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's gonna draw
You
you.
know to walk
Yeah.
to the right.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, it
Versus-
has to be shrunk down in size too, the size of your sign.
Yeah,
It's gotta be,
So isn't there like a datum line, like right,
there's a sign
There's a
band
slight
line.
a
difference in
sign band
material.
line, a datum line, like right where it just looks like there is, like, or maybe it's just the reflection, but isn't it the brick and then there's
I
like,
think you'd want it in line with the sign on the front facade.
Oh, the
right?
same
Yeah.
height.
Otherwise,
right.
they're gonna be, they're gonna look at.
right, but that is on the datum line.
Okay.
The
So
front
we-
sign,
when-
the
Front
wherever-
sign is. Yeah, so
We're gonna
make
align
it
it
match,
wherever
align
the
it.
front sign-
Yeah.
You're gonna read both of them together.
right,
on the
there'll be a
side.
line, so
Yeah.
when you go around the corner, it's
Right,
gonna be on the
exactly.
same height
Yeah.
level
Yeah.
as the other one. That's fine.
So it looked like you were trying to center studio on this facade.
Yeah.
So I think that when we were doing our review, we were looking at if it was a little bit bigger, it would take advantage of more of the
Yeah, we
lighting
can make it
that's
bigger.
existing.
Sure.
And then you have a pretty strong center to deal with, so
Yeah.
you'd have to find that balance
Yeah.
of where you. And how, you said that these are acrylic letters that are pinned into the building?
Yes.
Because
Flush
each of them was
Flush
a
mount,
screw
yeah,
joint.
yeah, there'd be like, depending on the letter,
Okay.
you know, it could be 3 or 4, it could be 2,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah.
Masonry screws.
Wait, but, go ahead, sorry, Marie.
No, the main door is here.
Yes.
As you said.
Yes,
And something has to happen to the way you design that to bring people to it. If you're not gonna move a sign, I don't know what, you put some lights, I don't know, but I like the goose lights that are there. Or whether there's another way of putting light on this, making this light, the sign wider and but put another kind of lighting for it. Anyone else have thoughts about the fact that?
I mean, we just looked because it was on the
Goose lights are
building.
distracting? No? Okay.
I don't live there, I don't mind.
Okay. Well, the door is hidden, I think.
I think also, well, but adding the Studio MD onto the door too. I
Yeah.
think once you're looking at it,
Yeah.
hopefully that
yeah,
will.
it's just how the building's
Is there any
constructed.
light underneath
A
that
light.
slight overhang?
Light on the door would
That's-
help.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not
all
sign
the way
related.
Looks like there might be a
No, but
hanging
if not, we
fixture
should
there.
probably add
It's hard to
something.
You may want to,
Yeah.
winter time.
I don't
it's
remember
dark-
either.
It's dark at 4:30, it needs
Yeah.
to be open.
If
Either
you look
way, I
at this
imagine
photo,
there's something there,
it
but-
does look like there's a
Hanging
hanging,
light.
like a pendant light
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
above
they-
that door.
Yeah,
Is that,
we can take
is
a
that
look
what I'm
at
making out?
Yeah,
I imagine the Webster Bank had, I don't know the answer, but probably they have something there because it's also their back entrance. Oh, yep, I do have, actually have it here. There's a pendant light, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. My handy photo.
Okay, recapping, this back sign needs to be shrunk to 7 square feet.
Yep.
It's too big.
and we're gonna move it to the right.
You're gonna flush it to the right,
Yeah.
to the side wall, and you're also gonna flush it so it's in line with the front, on the same plane.
Right, so it's.
Top bottom as the
Right.
sign in front.
Yes, Yep, no problem.
Which is probably bring it down so it sits on this, there's a sign band where it goes from
Yeah.
trim to
Yeah.
brick.
Yeah,
So
that's
it'll probably
fine.
sit on that
It
band.
probably will,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's one change. Second change on the front of the building, remove the description language. The Medical Aesthetic and Wellness Center,
Like that.
yep, thank you. My other idea for you guys, I don't know if the words, you guys could increase the size of it, and you could, if you took the angle of this, of the roof line, I don't know that big, you could extend the length, of it. You could, there is space to make a bigger sign here. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about this,
Yeah,
but it
we-
might get a little, that sign is a little small,
Yeah, we
actually.
can do that.
Can't believe I'm
What's
saying
the-
that.
We
what's
wanted to make it bigger, I think you had the maximum size, maybe different than, right? I think originally we wanted to
20
make it
inches
bigger.
and 26 inches.
You have some room, but you want it to be tasteful, so I know, I'm glad you started small, but I don't, other members think,
If you go to 20
Increase
inches,
this-
you're on the safe side because they're allowed in both districts.
20 high?
20 inches
for
high.
letters is the maximum that would be allowed in either district. And then when you go to automobile district, which I'm not sure this is because it's a parking lot.
And what size is that?
That's 14 inches.
14.8,
Here.
so
40 might
15,
be okay now, yeah.
so it's gonna be another
If
5
we can get a little
inches.
closer to those outside
Right.
lights,
Yeah, and
lights,
then it might-
won't be all the way, but. a little
Right,
closer.
and it'll be more cohesive with back moving to the right.
And
Dave-
that's scale. with the
Dave,
line.
Mr. Humphrey had a good question though, the sign on here is to scale? Like if you guys,
Yeah, when we put it on the building, our designer does it to the scale of the building.
Studio on the building is 14.8
Yeah.
inches.
Okay.
it is,
Well,
I mean, it looks maybe,
He's already
right?
made the sign, he doesn't want to make it again.
Because if it's to scale, then you could go to 20, is that what you're saying?
That might give, I mean, it's 15 now, and you're gonna add another 5 inches.
But this is gone, remember?
Yeah.
The letters get thicker too, right? If they're-
No, we'll keep it a half inch.
No, but that's actually is a trick question.
Yeah,
If you're going to 20 inches tall,
yeah.
is the profile of the plastic growing in oomph, technical term? Or is this just going to be as skinny as right now, it just extends?
That's what it's gonna do. It's just
So
gonna be
just
skinny and
same as
extend.
skinny and
Yeah.
extend. So that's, my point here is if the graphic of the letter, if you like the proportion of how the font looks now, if they go to 20 inches, it's going to be more elongated
Yeah.
and more skinny looking.
But I mean,
I don't think that, you
Or
you
it
cut
could
those
be
out,
made-
right? These are
Or it
special
can be
fonts.
made proportionally, that's
Yeah.
why
I
I'm
think it'll be
asking.
proportional, I think you're referring to
Yeah,
the
right.
thickness of the acrylic as
Yeah,
opposed to
it'll
the
be-
width of
The
the
Yeah.
width of the, for example, the width of the
It'll cut-
vertical
it'll-
of the T is going to grow if it goes
It will
in
grow.
height, it'll
Yeah,
go in width.
right, right, yes.
That's important,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise
Yeah, no, right.
it gets.
I wonder, I mean, it'd be better to have the two signs the same size and find the right size for both of them.
But you're limited to the seven square feet on the one side?
But we're also making an exception for
Well,
that
we can
size.
make an exception, right? I mean, we could, but is that, do you want a full weight sign on a empty wall with no door? I'm asking, that's not an opinion in that question, it's just a general, that's just a flat
And I
out
assume
question.
that's how it's rendered here.
Yeah,
I don't know. 20 inches is tall.
So it's either
That's the maximum.
a smaller sign here, bigger sign on the other side,
It's not a very big
two of the same
storefront.
size.
Yeah. Yeah.
or exactly exactly as shown, just shifted.
Yeah. I mean, it gets really big and.
All right, I feel like the spread, that no one wants it bigger,
Yeah.
as is, okay. It's as proposed. Okay,
Yeah, and so, and then the back is gonna go down to 7 square feet and move it to the right, the same height as the other sign in the
Yeah.
front.
okay, guys?
Not a problem.
Works for
Adding
me.
address on the door,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
And medical aesthetics is in the window.
Or not at all, yeah.
Or not at all.
But it's removed from the sign.
Yeah, it'll be this
That'll
one.
be cleaner. Yep.
I brought both versions.
Yeah.
Behind the glass.
It'll look nice.
So we'll use the administrative approval process. Once it's sent back to me, I will run it by our chairman and send it on its way.
Thank you,
Is
Hervé.
that what we do?
So let me recap what that is. He's so lovely, isn't he? I will write you a letter that shows our report that says it's not a favorable report yet, but you have to make changes.
Yes.
It tells us what those changes are.
Sure.
You can then take that, a PDF from that, create a new renderings, send it to Hervé, and he will administratively approve that for you and get you the proper sign, the documentation you need to move forward with your building permit.
Okay,
So
Or
you're
the next
waiting
step
for
of your
approval.
permits.
yeah.
Doesn't mean you're good to go. You know there's more permitting. You're just good
Yeah,
with.
well, I know.
After that, you can
This is
file
just the
for
beginning.
permit.
So
Yeah.
that's all on Jeff from here on.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we did it through for Combine Fitness. We went through this process, so that's fine.
It worked out.
Yeah, we did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're right. Okay, thank you, spoke up. Next up, on tonight's meeting, we've got 3 more left here, hang in here. ARB number 39. It is Oath Pizza at 134 Heights Road.
Yes, how you guys doing? My name's Dave Jameson with Oath Pizza. I am the VP of Operations. I'm sitting in for Tiana. She is extremely pregnant, so I'm going to do her a favor and come and meet you guys
Can you
tonight.
say your name?
David Jameson.
You're VP of Operations at Oath Pizza?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. We know what it is, but tell us what you want to do in 2 sentences or less.
Just get the plan that we have in front of you guys approved based on the signage we recommended.
Okay,
That's it.
okay.
We have a blade sign there. We have a fronting facing sign.
I will say your blade sign is one of the better ones I've ever seen come through Darien. It's a very nice sign.
It's simple, it's clean.
It's clean. I like the depth of it. I like the thickness of it, and like the way you added raised letters on it.
Yes.
And I like that it was an out of the box shape.
You know, we have a very minimalist design. This is a new logo that we've established, so it's very easy. The sign itself is a white acrylic. It's back, it's like internally lit. So it's also, you know, for whenever it gets nighttime, it'll be on a timer. We can also manually control it as well when we're open and when we're closed. That'll be like the indication sign.
So I have questions about this. I looked at this for a while and couldn't quite figure out what the sign was doing based on, first of all, before I forget, that board sign of yours, sandwich board sign is not allowed.
Okay.
So relay that to the party debate.
Gotcha.
The sandwich board signs.
Okay.
Yeah, so explain what the, what the Raceway is, what the depth of that is, and what this cross section, where the wood paneling is, if it is a full wood paneling, or if it's just a bar, if it's floating on its own.
It should look like it's floating, but the Raceway itself should be a hollowed, it's 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches, I believe, the depth. That way all of the electronics can be hid in there as well, so it's very seamless, but it is above where the window sits.
So that's the color is the Raceway.
Yeah, so the actual frame will match the Raceway as well, so it'll just be like a floating oath sign.
Sorry, but what color is the Raceway?
It should be the same color as the border of the trim of the windows, so I believe it's white.
So somewhere you wrote wood paneling, so I couldn't understand if you had wood blocking, if there's a wood block like on top of the transom windows or behind the sign. That's what here, on this.
Sheet
Wood
1.0, that section right there is really hard to get.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you had a sample.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, they sent them over, but
That's their New York City location.
So what's hard to understand is what is that line in the back of the letters?
so that would be the Raceway
That's the
wood.
Raceway wood.
Yes, I'm not positive if it is a stained wood blocking, but I know it'll match the facade. That's what I was told. So I don't know. It's not white because then the letters won't be visible. But I do have other samples of like the pictures that were shooting that packet as well as our.
The packet made it more confusing. Like you might have a full wood.
No, that was just an example from the same exact like acrylic the sign was made of. That's in our West Hartford location.
Yeah.
But it might be that same sort of like cedar coloring that's holding the wood or holding the sign rather. But that should be the same color as whatever the board and trim is for the windows.
So you have a transom window, a gap, and then a wood panel, and then which then these white lit up letters are then sitting on it.
That's correct.
Why the wood panel?
I guess to create the depth of it, because otherwise it'd be white on white for the lettering, especially during the daytime.
It's only a little bar.
Yeah, the wood blocking appears to just be for the purposes of attaching the
Looks like a
Raceway and the
2x4.
signage. to
Yeah, it's how
the
visible
window.
is it going to be though, I guess that's kind of.
Yeah, it doesn't
It
seem
doesn't.
like it's going to be visible, but
I don't know.
I don't know why you necessarily need it.
I mean, do what the wood to affix it to it, like the
Yeah,
Raceway
kind of the way
itself?
that section reads. You know,
It's
there's
like
screws
wood
going into the
behind,
wood
but
block.
except it's just one small 2x4, right?
Yes.
So it's like in this picture of the West Hartford location, you just have to imagine no wood except a 2x4 behind the letters.
Yeah,
That's
except the
important
2x4
because
's
that beautiful white rendering with lines doesn't really show the materiality of what.
So it's behind the entire set of letters, not just the porcelain letters, the wood.
Yeah, but it's
Entirely
also-
the whole 4 foot span of the windows.
Right, so it's a,
But it's also behind the Raceway, so at most you're seeing like a little strip of the wood blocking. That's
I can't picture it still.
if I was to
It's like it's an elevate. It'll be as you're describing it correctly. It'll be detached from the Raceway, and the Raceway just serves as a housing for any electronics, so you wouldn't see any of that.
Yeah, I can't picture how that's gonna look.
It's also like the wood blocking, it's showing
Yeah.
in that section as if like it's flush with the window mullions, which.
And then how does the wood blocking get attached to the?
Yeah, so I don't understand the point of the wood blocking, really. Like, why wouldn't you just attach it to either side of the window frame.
That's what I was thinking too, because then you could,
Eliminate the need for the blocking. The blocking can't attach, I mean, how's the wood blocking attached to the window?
I don't know if that wood blocking is just a corner, like a corner piece to the, like to the raceway.
There was a detail.
It's almost like you need like a plan view.
I think the sign itself, I mean, blocking notwithstanding, it's fine. I guess the question I would have is, so it's 3-inch depth on the letters, so the oath, I guess this, I mean, it kind of says it all. So the oath and the pizza are all the same depth, the same face.
This is what I'm understanding. That you see the sign and in the back of it is that
Yes,
blocking
that's what
piece
I'm
that holds
understanding.
on the letter.
Yes, because that would be the raceway essentially in the back.
That's made of wood, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so I'm understanding this correctly. It's just like your letters are coming in front of a piece of wood that is holding it out.
one piece of,
One little
What you
2 by
colored in
4.
there is a metal tube. That's the raceway.
Yeah, that's what I'm interpreting.
That's not what that's why I think we
It is. Look
disagree
at
in
the
the
section view.
understanding.
Look at the section view where it says custom raceway.
Yeah, but that's-
3-inch facelit channel letters are attached to a custom raceway that holds the electronics that are required to light
So what
it.
is the raceway made of when it's behind, when it's not behind letters? Is this plastic?
I assume it's
What is
painted
the
metal white.
casing of the raceway when it's not the letter? Because right now the section is cut through a letter. So when it's not cut through a letter, what does it look like on this little
I
piece
think
here?
you said it matches the window, so it's.
Yeah, my understanding was it was wood.
Mr. James,
So that's what he's saying.
I'm gonna save us all a lot of time. I
Yeah.
need you guys to come back next month. I'm sorry, there's
Okay.
there's too
The
much.
Blake's
I
on
don't
it
really know.
Okay, that sounds
I'm
good.
sorry, I know this is not you, I know you're trying to interpret your picture. The drawings are so great and comprehensive in a way, that almost to a point like that we're not really understanding what we're looking at. Can you come back? Maybe bring sample of the
One
wood.
alternative would be
Yes.
a plan view showing how the sign and the raceway and potentially blocking are attached to the window, the transom window above the door itself.
Yeah.
Because I think the sign itself is not the issue, right? So
Right.
We're just getting into the details of how the sign is attached.
Yeah, because I'm kind of concerned about the aesthetics of what's behind the sign. I mean, you could have this nice sign, but then you have this really kind of messy detail in the way
Shouldn't there
it's
be a color code?
engaged
Yeah.
into the transom.
May I interject? I'm so
Certainly.
sorry. I'm Leanne with DMA.
Yeah.
And I actually reviewed oath signage several times, and there was an iteration, and I'm not sure if this was missed, but the blocking was not there, it was removed, and the actual casing was attached to the transom. So it was only the raceway with the sign outside in front of, so I don't recall there being, I think there was an iteration that removed the blocking.
So can you guys come back with just clarity of everything? Just come back, is there wood blocking, what does it look like, what's the size of it, how long is it, how tall is it, how thick is it, where does it meet, how are they all two near together?
Could I also just looking at it again, like, is this raceway, is this horizontal element interrupting this transom, this, basic window system with the muffins and everything? Is that gonna be distracting? Would it be better to, if that raceway basically was the height of that lower band of windows, so that it just read as basically a backboard to the Oath Pizza sign itself? I mean, would that help Oath Pizza stand out a little bit more against what, it just seems to me that to have Oath Pizza in front of a window with this raceway 3.5-inch band behind it, there's a lot going on behind it that I don't know if it's gonna complement the sign. It might lessen the impact of the sign.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I understand what you're saying 100%. I don't know what their design aesthetic was going for there. And then again, to answer those questions probably make it a lot more clear.
Yeah.
Because I think it's...
It's also, if, like you said, if you did a color rendering if it's white lettering on a white Raceway, it might
Yeah, for sure.
blend together a little bit more than I think it might.
So,
What's the color of the mullions? What's the color of that background over there?
I think the mullions are
It's the color scheme from the
pizza color.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, which one of the storefronts is it again, in this, looking at the overall elevation?
So,
So if we're looking at,
you want to pass
palette
around?
2, or, wait
Pass
a
it
minute.
around there. Old Pizza is the last one in the middle row here.
Did I miss
there
it?
we go.
Yeah, that's great.
Share. Which one? This
I think
one?
we have those copies here, yeah.
Oh, that's big.
So it's palette 4.
Okay, oh, yeah.
Okay.
I see. It's,
But on that rendering, which is quite pleasant, the letters are completely floating.
Sorry.
You can see the blue of the window in the back. There's no Raceway piece of
Okay.
holding.
Okay, it's getting late.
Yep.
Full color rendering, and yeah, if there is a Raceway and a woodblock, whatever, just specs of the whole thing. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm so sorry.
Otherwise, the blade
No, no.
sign
Oh,
is,
and, the blade sign is,
We're going on the blade side?
Yeah, the blade sign, yeah.
Best blade sign in Darien.
blade sign's great, yeah.
That sounds good.
Voted best blade sign in Darien.
We'll be back. I will show you the all the colors.
great, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Members agree.
Also, David, one thing to note is where exactly it's attaching on the wall, because that will be the question on those transoms, like, is it in the center of the is it gonna be centered on the two transoms, or is it gonna be centered over the bottom set of transoms,
Okay.
right, like,
Gotcha.
I'll put that in here.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, David. Sorry, guys, I'm making a note. Okay. Second to last application up now. Here we go. ARB number 41. It is the Darien Scouts, 70 Old Kings Highway. Hi, guys.
Hello, I'm Joellen Gray, and this is Todd Morgan, and we're also here with John Delp, the 3 trustees of the Andrew Shaw Memorial Trust.
Welcome. We're so honored to have you guys. You do such great work in town. What a wonderful service
Thanks.
to have in our town.
And thanks for your support as well. We know we came before you once before. This time, we actually have a real building, and we have a very simple request. We have presented you an application to replace the sign in the existing post at 70 Old Kings Highway North with a sign that simply says Darien Scouts and calls our building the Eric N. Ferguson House.
And what about the hanging part underneath it too?
That is actually an optional piece should we go forward with a Scout store. We did get permission from Planning and Zoning to put in a little Scout store that sells uniforms and handbooks and things like that. That would be run by the Connecticut Yankee Council. They have not yet determined when they want to go forward with that. So if they do, this is just the rendering of what the sign would look like with that addition.
Okay. So, I'm gonna jump in, because we need to move along here. I want to support you guys and do what I can. I'm a little frustrated with the amount of language on the sign. I know we talked about this, and here's what we had a little outside conversation asked these guys. The building they're in is a historic building, and it is, you guys see, it is plaqued. Marianne Costello knows all too well. It's a plaqued building. So I asked them, like, oh, is this the name of the historic building? I was confused. So I don't want to, and what was your answer to why you named
So
that? Why you're trying to name it?
We raised $1 million in town in honor of Eric Ferguson and communicated to all of the donors that we were honoring this wonderful philanthropist in town. In fact, we have 2 properties. We have the Andrew Shaw Cabin on West Avenue, which we call the Scout Cabin, and then we have Ferguson House, which is our secondary building.
Okay. My trouble is, I don't know how the board thinks about this, but of how we get all this copy in here, particularly if they also want to do a Council Scout store. And the double naming of the house, maybe Mary have ideas, but like you have a name on the house and then I'm worried people are gonna think that it's the name, historic name of the house versus like dedicated to, maybe it's the way the language is written or.
Well, we tried to limit the number of words on the sign and Eric Ferguson's daughter very much wants to say the Eric N. Ferguson House, as opposed to just saying Ferguson House, which would also reduce the number of...
But we're going to be keeping the Joshua Moore House plaque.
Of course.
And so I was very involved with the restoration. I was also curious, you aren't going to be changing too much of the inside?
Nothing.
Okay. And then, so I think having another name, that doesn't bother me historic.
Yeah, because, that's just what the plaque is.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that name is fine.
Is it the legal name?
No. We'd make an exception because they're a community service group.
Well, they're going to name it. If they name the house Eric Ferguson, it's a legal aspect to that.
Well,
You're not naming the house. You're just dedicating it to.
Right. Okay. All right.
Did you guys consider doing like a more substantial sign? Like this kind of looks like a real estate sign. I know it's what's there, but since you raise all this money, you have this this historic house. Do you think about putting in a ground monument sign?
So in fact, we had a version of that. We had two. And it was the advice of the sign company to actually just keep the simple post and the sign that's there. But I could show you actually the other rendering.
Marion, what stays more in the keeping of the history as far as signs? The post that they have, or
what did you say?
What type of sign would keep most in the history of the house? The post.
Well, that's a good point. Maybe you could get sort of an 18th century sign. You could do, but it's not really. I think as long as the plaque is on the house and that fits the house and the date, I think the sign is just. Because they had a sign, and that people have been living in there. They had all kinds of businesses there recently.
It seems to me, and maybe I don't know a ton about it, but being that you're trying to combine two things in one element, and that if you had the hanging sign saying the Boy Scouts, and then actually had.
Well, it's
oh no, I don't. See, I think it should be. I know it sounds. I think it should be the hanging sign that was more just the Darien Scouts and the number, and then if it was me, I guess I would consider doing some sort of a placard that was either like the kind that you see in Fairfield that is like metal, but I would do it as a ground, almost like a dedicated plaque, like a cement, like almost, or not cement, but like almost, I'm not going to say a gravestone, but like something where it was angled and metal on the top and said a little bit about why you're dedicating it to that person. So it was like a little bit of history of why you were doing what you were doing versus just naming it this, and if it was a normal passerby or anyone else or a Boy Scout, if it's a really permanent way to memorialize this thing, they have those things. I could send you an example in Nantucket, but like they have something where you read a little description of why, and I think that also the main donor, or the person that you're dedicating to, that would speak really nicely to that woman.
I think that would be a very good idea. Doing something to go over and give some more credit to Eric Ferguson.
The top of I won't. Caden, I think it's Caden Circle in Nantucket. There is on the top of Main Street, there's a kind of like a obelisk-looking thing, and there is a placard there explaining why that obelisk statue is there. But if you Google that image, it's on the top of Main and the Quaker Cemetery, you'll see it.
Great. I appreciate the reference. What I'm trying to understand is whether or not you're suggesting that we have the sign that says Darien Scouts on the post that's currently there and add another element onto the property that's dedicated to Eric.
Yes.
Or if we create one new element.
No.
So now 3 elements. We'll have the sign on the, 2 for this, plus the sign that's on the house.
Correct. Yep.
So the hanging sign doesn't have the Ferguson house written on it. It just says Darien Scouts.
And then you have somewhere like a stone, something that has flowers and bushes around it, where someone could walk up closer to the house that says or a special little garden area over on the side that says,
I mean, it's
why
just,
you're dedicating what you're doing and why it's named after this person.
Is this a question of visibility from the road, or is this just a question of of memorial, right? I think that's, if we have it on a piece of stone, people driving by aren't going to be able to see it. Where if we want something, more people who are driving by to read the sign, then it can't be memorialized on a plaque on a stone, like something like that, but it has to be on the sign. I'm okay with all the copy. I like a nice serif font with this kind of house, and the sans serif I thought was kind of a little modern for it. I don't know what the Scouts have as far as branding goes, or if they have a certain font that's used, or if this was just something, if you don't want something clean and easy to read. But I did think that the house, maybe a serif font would be a little bit nicer. But that's just my feedback on.
I think it should be the Scouts font. You can do that. That makes more
Is this your
sense.
font? Is this your Scout?
So we actually have a logo that we considered putting in that is very elaborate, and almost too elaborate. So,
The Scouts logo?
yeah.
Incoming interest, Darien Scouts.
So while you guys looked it up, how about, I think Anya had a great question. Is the naming of the house about visibility, or is it about plaque?
So the key things that we're really trying to achieve here is, number one, we need to tell people it's 70, right?
Okay.
Because we get a lot of people coming here who need to know where it is.
Okay.
Number two, it's the Darien Scouts.
Okay.
And number three, we have a very meaningful donor who's made a real commitment to the building, and we need to recognize that.
That's why.
And
The one thing I was going to suggest along that point that you guys have talked about is, honestly, this is a budget issue too, right? We can spend lots of money on bronze plaques, or we can support kids. The thing that we've done in the past at the other building that's worked out quite well is we've put, sort of the story, if you will, the sort of description of why this is the way it is, as a sort of a plaque on the inside of the building kind of thing. And sort of served, I think, kind of the point you're trying to make. So it still says Eric and Ferguson House on the outside. People walking in, there's a little notice there. They can sort of read the sort of history like that. That's what we've done, certainly at the cabin, for similar kind of.
But you want to make sure people driving by are seeing
We
it.
want to see 70 and Darien Scouts. That's the most important thing, and I think we'd be doing our builder a disservice to not really recognize the very huge amount of generosity they've given us.
They could put even, 100 years maybe.
I
We like this.
I like the font.
We like the font.
I like the font. I think it's
a curve even.
It's not quite. It's serif, but like the 100-year isn't, and it still works well. I wonder if maybe the font. I never just if you start. It's very
It's Scouty House, just so you know.
Maybe you leave the Eric and Ferguson in the sans serif.
Because he's not the only one. It's
Or
not.
they're gonna put it inside.
So it's not too cramped, so it's easy to read, and then do the Darien Scouts and the serif.
You're gonna put something inside?
Honestly, I think in discussions in the back and forth trying to understand this, I think the guidance that we've gotten is that you can't put two names on a sign. So we'd love to put the logo on a sign if you guys are happy with it, but that was kind of our understanding that might not be the structure you're looking for.
You could put Eric Ferguson inside with a wonderful.
You can do this. This is great, okay? It sounds like we recommend a different font, the one that you guys are on there. If you want to do this thing, a different font. If you guys want to consider doing the logo, that's great too. The logo is really cool. It has a lot of history to it. If you want to instead, and then also do the logo and then the number 70.
Within the size of the sign that you're
the
seeing.
size of the sign.
I don't think the logo is necessary. I think the logo, if you're trying to squeeze the logo onto the size of the sign, that's too
I wouldn't
big.
try the logo.
But I think that the font of the logo, I agree with, would be
the Darien
kind of a nice,
Scouts
it gives a
font.
little bit.
Just like a little bit,
Yeah.
It looks like.
A little bit more
just
distinction.
distinguishes
Yeah.
So prove that is, but find out what the font is for the logo and use that. The Council Scout store though,
No.
I can't go in there. But what you guys could consider doing, by the way, if you have special events, is you can put up a temporary banner that's allowed for I think 7 days.
The Scout store would be there all the time.
Yeah.
But you haven't got the story
We don't
yet.
have it now.
So this, we could just not deal with it yet.
Yes, we can come back to you.
Although there is a precedent, I think it's worth pointing out that there's a precedent. The YWCA has pretty much a similar hanging thing there, that there's another organization that's labeled below their hanging sign.
I have to check if they're compliant.
Yeah, they might be
That's
getting
my
tapped.
next week's job is compliance of sign.
Yeah.
I think that
We won't tell them.
the council's, the scout store would actually bring it outside of the realm of what's allowed in hanging signs. We have, Woody goes around town whenever the real estate sign, when they add underneath waterfront or a pool or something, that's like more than that's.
Yeah, you're not allowed to.
I mean, I'm sure we can come back when and as the scout store progresses, but yeah, that's kind of, that would be the proposal, I think.
Well, how are we going to deal with Eric Ferguson? Inside?
No, it's as is.
gonna be
The sign is, as presented.
Okay, I
It's
kind
good,
of like
yeah.
the idea of having more said about him.
I do
frankly.
too, and I love the idea of maybe we are meeting
I
with the
think that
landscape
would be-
designer tomorrow anyway to talk about the property, and maybe we could do a memorial garden and add some
Well, I think
information
that would
about
be
him.
wonderful.
Yeah,
and
because
you
just the
don't-
normal, I mean, I would love to know why it's named what it is, and I'm still not a Boy Scout, so
Yeah.
I'm not walking in necessarily.
No, and I'm sure the donors would love that too, so that's a great suggestion.
So if you do, in other words, you're going to keep it in the sign and then make another plaque inside about Eric Ferguson?
Which tells us people more about him.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's good.
Well, yeah, if
You're going to do the same font for Erickson?
We'll have to look at the design of that and the
I
balance.
think the Scouts emulates the font on what you had shown, you know. But then the Eric Ferguson, I think should be that simpler font.
Easier to read the road.
Yeah, 'cause I think, to your point, it distinguishes Darien Scouts.
So favorable report, but you're gonna have a final administrative approval though, because we need to see the final result. So what you heard, if you heard this before, we'll send the new PDF to Hervé and he can take care of the technicalities to make sure that's in.
Great.
Yeah, but yeah, if we're going to put in Ferguson on the sign, on the front and make that inspection, I know it's a one-time donor, I mean, a lot of people have donors. You're gonna have a hard time personally convincing me at the store to ever allow that language on there. I will say that, I will never be in favor of that.
Okay.
But you got the
separate
name,
building.
you got the name of the donor, and that was the important thing you're saying,
Right,
so.
right.
The building, the rear building could be used as a store, right? Are you keeping that, or are you going to be renting that as a place to live?
So currently there's a tenant in there and we
Yeah.
are renting it. The store itself is just one of the rooms inside the main building.
It will be in the main building?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a separate building, okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love what you're doing. Love what you're doing. I love what you two said about, we better spend money on the boys, not the sign. Well said.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we are on our last application of the night, and then we still have some other ARB business, so let's keep our eye on the ball here. ARB number 42, 2022. This is Gregory's Coffee, and this is for signage, not for the windows or the facades.
Correct. Okay, so we have the building on both sides of the building. We have a reverse channel letter sign. These are 2-inch deep stainless steel letters painted white. And this black band is a band of aluminum that they're going to use right across the building. This will serve two purposes. It'll give them a band across the building. It'll be 2 inches deep, and that's going to house all our wiring. So the only thing that'll be coming out of the building is a wire into that, and that band will be matte black. The letters will be 2-inch deep. They'll be 1 inch away from the background. 2 inches deep, I need that to diffuse the light. The landlord has told me that the maximum width of this could only be 5 inches. I don't know if that's code or what the landlord wants, but that fits into that. My understanding from the landlord is some exceptions have been made here in this development for size. I don't really know anything about it. It was decided that they could have 2 blade signs.
What?
The 2 blade signs This will be raised letters on these blade signs, and they wanted them housed on either side of this detail on the building.
Okay. Okay, 2 blade signs and 2 signs in the front and the back. Yep. Okay,
Okay?
cool. Oh, by the way, John, did you introduce yourself for the record?
What's that?
Did you introduce yourself for the record?
Oh, I don't think I did. I'm John Massari, from the owner of Accent Signs and Awnings.
And John, you're alone. You don't. Gregory's not here tonight.
No, he was supposed to be here, I don't know what happened.
Okay. All right. He's got this unique jewel box of a building that calls attention to itself, and he wants 4 signs on it as an exception. I don't know where to start. Maybe I'll let someone else.
Everybody's gonna know it's Gregory's Coffee. There's not gonna be a person in town who drives by that's not
Sign
gonna
in
be
the front, and I guess.
Gregory's Coffee.
Mr. Riley just said something helpful. Why don't you speak up, Dave?
Yeah.
No,
I mean, sorry, Mr. Humphrey. Sorry.
No, I mean, I don't see any reason why you would have Gregory's Coffee on the front and the back.
I like the idea of having a blade sign in the front and the big sign in the back so people can see it when they're parking. No?
Do the opposite.
I like that.
Do
I like
one in the
that.
front,
Yeah,
and then the blade sign in the back.
Yeah,
I
Because
think
you've
I
already
agree with
driven
that.
through,
So you've seen it?
you've seen it.
I'm sure Gregory wants the signage to be on the front on the street,
Yeah.
so that you're driving by it. So yeah, I would say front facade, the main sign, blade sign on the back corner. So when you're in the parking lot, you know that that's where it is. Serves both purposes. You got signage on front and back, and it doesn't overdo it the way that this does.
That was the scale of the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just a quick question. So you said this is black. What's the color of the building here? Is it?
So it's in your package of the renderings, it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
darker.
I'm looking at
I
it, but
guess,
I think the building looks like it's a dark
Is it darker?
charcoal color, and
I
then
don't know if it's your sign.
it's
percent.
black. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
That's the correct color.
I am having a really hard time swallowing that face, that logo on the front of this jewel box design in the center of our jewel building
I like it.
in our new federal. Are you gotta be kidding me? Really?
I
You
like
like
it
it?
in the back.
I mean, this is the first thing that everyone will see now going into Norton Heights. I don't know. I think it's over the top. I think it should be more tasteful.
What's our height limit here for the sign?
Oh, the height of letters, the letters are
Letter.
defined as being 20 inches.
So
As
the
a max,
letter
as a
is
max.
20 inches max.
Pedestrian area is 20 inches.
Alright.
So the height of the logo can only be 20 inches?
No, the height of the letter in the logo.
Selling something.
Should have my sign
I don't know if it's just
regulation
like too
always
big.
in
It's just, it's way big. Mr. Riley, you were saying something about the size and the scale?
Well, that, I think my question was exactly that, the limitation on the size of the letters. The way it kind of pops out above the band, I think is a little distracting.
So the key, one of the regulation though is that 32 square foot overall signage. If you take into account the black background, this exceeds the allowed amount. This is more
I
than
guess
32 square feet.
In the past, have we counted the backing as part of the sign though? Or is it the actual lettering and the logo?
No, the whole background would count as part of the sign. And also, our signage thing applied to, well, when we did our signage package, it didn't account for this small jewel building. This is its own unique structure. Not that, I mean, so John, you're just deciding, you're not here, you're just doing what you're told.
I'm getting it kind of secondhand. I was
Yeah.
told that they came in and these sizes were all approved, and that's all
Yeah.
I was
I
thinking.
think one thing, the black background should probably only be over
Yeah.
the
The window,
storefront,
over
Yeah.
right?
the window, the front window?
Yeah.
That's the
and then it's
storefront.
over-
Are the mullions of the
You can bring it
the
back.
window
You bring
mullions,
the-
are they black?
Black.
So
Put
it's,
the
so
rendering
that
back
would
up.
work with the,
This,
Yes.
Yep.
right.
So, yeah, if the width of that black, the band was just as wide as the windows. And,
I
yeah, through
actually,
there.
Okay,
with that.
I don't know.
so that would be the width of the windows would be the band.
That's
You
that's
want-
what Dave was saying, right?
And you want me to shrink the head down to 20 inches?
Well, we
Not the
I don't think we.
head.
The whole thing?
The letters.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, the
so-
letters are already
The
less
head,
than
the head
20
is
inches.
different. It's a,
Okay.
it's
Where the
a
letters look
symbolic
like
thing.
So that can stay that
Oh, they're
size.
18.
I don't know, that's not up to me.
Yeah, I think there would probably be,
What, I'm just thinking outside of the box. Can you now show me the other one?
sure.
So the black band, so the letters are cut out above the black band, correct?
They're raised letters. They're a letter like this, raised above the band.
So what,
So the light is gonna
Yeah.
give it a halo light.
sure,
It's gonna
so
glow.
can you now put back up the section? Yep.
And the head's gonna be lit too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All halo lit.
You gotta.
So, okay, so what if, I'm
I
just,
mean, I need you to know my
It's
friend.
the same.
I'm just throwing it out
It's just on
there.
the blade side.
But what if the,
You know what's so funny? If the head, I would like work with signage in the sense that I'd be okay with like the head as a blade, like somewhere, and then no, and then do the Gregory's coffee just without the.
Yeah, that could be cool, like a blade sign
A blade
that's
sign
like,
of this.
that's cut to the shape.
Everybody will
That would
recognize
actually
them
be cool.
everywhere. I think that would be like a unique thing. I mean, they might think that they're at Warby Parker for a second, but then they'll see Gregory serving coffee and they'll be like, oh, it's you. And then just the Gregory's coffee.
I wouldn't mind it if it was, so here's what my thought. I actually like the band that goes all the way across, because I think it is sort of, could speak as an architectural element. But I wouldn't mind lowering, and it's gonna sound weird, but I wouldn't mind lowering Gregory's to meet the top portion of the
Above the door?
window. Yeah, like right, so it hits the window line. And
Okay.
then put coffee as cut out, sort of like what you've done with the top of the lettering for Gregory's. Below,
Oh, so
so
coffee
the
hangs?
coffee hangs,
The coffee would be hanging over the window?
just a little bit over the window.
I don't
Okay.
like that.
You don't.
Because the
But
letter
in
is
black.
small.
We just did a cutout and I like drive by and it like upsets me every time I drive by that building with that cutout.
What if we put the sign here, on the side, and not on the front, so the jewel box?
I think it has to go in the front, there's a space for it in the front, I think it artificially calls for it. I think the logo should be removed in the front, I think it should be shrunk on the front, there should be a blade sign on the back side, We'll wrap it up, that's my sense, 2 cents.
Well, it is in
I
the
mean,
front
that's
now,
his,
right?
yeah.
I would love to see you guys come back with a creative blade sign, I think that's a great idea. And soften the entrance to that, it's getting kitschy, it's very kitschy, we got a lot going on there, we got like all, I don't know, I think it's getting kitschy.
So does the blade sign say Gregory's Coffee too, or is it just the head?
I like just the head.
I think just the head, like a cool cutout of the head,
Yeah.
Yep.
Might
And
as
then
well
get
be
rid of
give
the
you a
head
head
on
on
the
that
front.
side. I don't know if Gregory.
And no head on
No
Gregory.
head on
Yeah.
that one, just say
We're just
Gregory.
gonna be like, we don't like your head.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I
it's,
mean,
it's,
you know-
yeah, it's just,
Or maybe it just has to be smaller, like if you're including the head, it just needs,
the
no.
head is always gonna make it look kitschy.
Yep, agreed.
But if the head is a cool cutout, I think it's pretty cool, interesting idea.
So then let's see.
The blade sign.
Okay.
This way you get both the head and the name on there, and it's more discreet, like David said.
So, Mr. Massery?
Masari.
Sorry, I'm going to tell time. All right, I tried 2 versions of it. One, the band, long band, and one with it shortened over the window so we can see both, since our board seems to be, what is that? Shrink down the Gregory's coffee size. Right now it's at 28, bring it down to 20 max. If he wants us the logo, what's wrong, why are you making that face?
What's that?
It's at 28, the whole thing's 28 high. Bring it down to
The
20.
logo is 28 and a half, the lettering is smaller, the letter is 8.
I think the whole thing, the logo, everything down to 20, the logo down
Everything's 20.
to 20. Right, guy? Like, what was it?
20 is the letters, so.
Both lines of the letters are 20.
Okay.
Right? Is that what you're saying? Or
No, it's.
Or just the
it's
coffee would be
one
20.
one letter max is 20 in height.
Yeah.
In any signage, so there's no letter being allowed more than 20 inches
Right.
tall. So
But
the G of Gregory cannot be more than
But
20.
the two letters could be more than 20.
That's
so
correct.
I'm just asking for your guidance.
Yeah, the letters look too close together, you can hardly read them. They're so close.
It's a corporate logo.
That's the logo, I see that.
Right, that's the fine line.
Try two versions, one without the logo, one with the logo. But if you're gonna do it with the logo, it's gotta be totally shrunk down. And then come back with that alternate blade sign, with the blade sign cut as the logo.
Okay.
And you could do just the logo, or you could try doing the logo in the head, but I think it'd be pretty cool just to have the logo like you were saying.
Okay.
I mean, that's a real opportunity for you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just one blade sign.
It's one blade sign
One blade
on the
sign.
back, one wall sign on the front, or swap them.
Okay.
Just cut out the head.
I'm coming back, right?
Oh, you're coming back, but I think you should bring Gregory.
Sorry.
I will tell him that you requested him.
We're requesting him once again.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Thanks for staying. Okay, guys, we gotta talk business. Sorry, we're making a note here. You guys can move along. You guys can quickly in the meantime. Hi, Patrick. Are you?
No, I was just taking
Okay.
this off the table.
Okay. All right, I guess we won't talk about Patrick until he leaves. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to, I have to have some notes here, but under other
Thanks for your help with that.
business, if you take a look at your first document here, we're going to go to the stats of commercial sign regulation enforcement. Hervey mentioned this. Hervey, do you want to give a 1 minute overview of what these guys are looking at on what this draft is going out this week to every business in town, this cover letter you see here?
Well, actually, it's going to be published in the Darien Times on Thursday.
Ooh, okay.
So that's how we decided to reach the more people, is to be in the newspaper. But then what it says, and your version has been slightly updated with dates because of time frame. It said that compliance as of September 23rd, which is really the end of the week, and that was a little too tight. So it's going to be moved September 30th. It's like people will be told if they're in compliance or not. And then October 10, right after 11, after Columbus Day, if they haven't complied, then there's going to be enforcement action, meaning I will come and visit and say, okay, now you guys are, you know you're not doing the right thing. You got to remove the sign. I'm coming back tomorrow. And even though we don't really have a lot of ways to enforce, if we come back and we just tell people to do it, usually they do it. So what I prepared in that package is what I'm going to give people when I see them, depending on the cases. The one that I had started was the enforcement notification about signage, which is which category are you in infraction. So is it sandwich board? We have a lot of sandwich board at Goodwife Center. And I know I got my latest text about Coromandel. And so, yeah, I know I've removed their sandwich sign. They keep on putting it back. So sandwich board are going to be really a tough battle because they were part of what was allowed by the town to promote business. Well, now that COVID is over and business is back to almost, probably 100%, then the sandwich board that are a problem on the sidewalks need to go.
Yeah.
So all these sandwich board that were an investment of sort need to be understood that they can be there. Window signs around town, there's a lot of violation in terms of what people paste in the back of their windows. They make them opaque instead of, there's a very strict, and I'm ready to give them, you have these 4 things here that I put, I'm giving them a pamphlet if they are in violation of a window sign that explains that a temporary window sign is allowed for 25%, but is only allowed for 30 consecutive days and must be removed. And the attached sign or an etched glass is only 10% of the window, and that's permanent, but by permit. So I have another handout which is explaining the code, what they need to do, and they can talk to me and say, how do we do this? And then once I've told them, then they should be able to do it. Right? So some of the businesses are going to have a hard time because they're in violation. We'll see what can be done. they may have to come and visit you guys, and we'll see how that looks.
This is a good thing for you guys to keep too, if you guys are always curious about what is regulated, what's allowed. It's kind of nice to keep in your back pocket, everybody's little
So-
cheat sheet for each of these.
Same goes with the banners and the lit sign. I'm not going to go in detail because you guys know about it. But then we have about 7-page chart that looks like this with all the different addresses and the violation that we have noticed if they were taken care of or not. So it's going to be a big Excel spreadsheet that's going to live with me. And then once in a while, I'll give you an update and say, okay, last month we got 15 signs to be corrected, and there's still 25 that are in violation. And then the month after, we can say, well, with those 25, we got 10 to come in line. So that the idea is that we have a record of it, but that lives with me as I do the enforcement and I mark it up. And then the more. When you see things, I'm very happy for you guys to send me an email or a photo and say, hey, by the way, and yeah, some of them were probably already on my list, but I was waiting for that letter to go out so that people understand that it's not just, okay, this is Hervé, the new guy in town, is, being a technical term, but anyway, so he's trying, but now the town is behind. The letter is being reviewed by the selectmen, by the office administrator. It's been sent to the Chamber of Commerce, so it's known. We're coming back to the regular sign regulation and making sense of it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Great. So much work there. Okay, so that's that. The second letter, we don't have to discuss unless you guys have things you want to add, but this is my letter that I'm passing to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow about a recommendation for Norton Heights Shopping Center and about, in general, how to treat blight properties and construction fencing. I amended it since I sent it out to you guys.
Yeah.
I added a clean and lean policy recommendation for number 1 for the chickens that are under blight.
Yeah. Do we need to have a vote on that?
Says that this recommendation was officially voted.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. I took that out, but do you guys want to do a vote for it? You
said it right here.
I actually was going to take it out because I was just going to send a letter. Because you don't need a vote to send a letter, Board of Selectmen letter, but so I actually did take that out. Thanks for that's a good catch.
Could I make one? When you say grasses deplanted,
okay.
Sod or seed? Like I don't think you mean like seed, like grasses from the beach.
Oh yeah, seeded
or like carrots.
Seeded, yeah.
I think sod.
Yeah.
Always the
Sod's more expensive. I would do an option seed or sod.
Okay.
Would you say like a no-mow grass or something that won't exceed 8 inches? I mean, isn't that something?
It's going to be a lot of work to keep up.
I don't know enough about it.
She does have it maintained no higher than 8 inches for visual.
I did say that. That's what you're saying.
So did you want to have the short discussion about what constitutes blight and the way this is defined?
No, I'm not going to do that. I know, but no.
Okay.
Sorry, or do another time since it's not 9:48 p.m. I would love to, but I'm going to save you guys that discussion unless you really want to talk about blight right now.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Okay.
We should, but.
We should at some point. We definitely should.
No, it's a good discussion.
Do you have an update of the calendar?
Yes, I have the calendars here to distribute. One copy to be signed by you, and the other people.
One change to the calendar that you guys have. I changed the November date. It was too close to Thanksgiving. I moved it up a week, so we're meeting the second week in November.
Do you want your own copy? You can grab one and
Is that
Liz, you
reflective?
can sign me one.
It's reflective
Yeah, it's on
in
there.
that new one. So it should be November. Yeah, what is that?
14.
14?
November 14, that's correct. That's on there.
So I'll sign. If you guys are all okay with this, if no one else noticed anything with over breaks or anything, I will sign this.
And then do you want to approve the June and July minutes? Because with June, we're in rear a little bit.
Oh, I definitely want to. Also, one thing to note about the calendar, guys, next month, we're meeting on the schools.
Yep.
Please go out and look at the schools ahead of time, so you guys know
And
what
we're
I'm talking
meeting
about.
at 6 o'clock next month.
Yes, we're meeting at 6 o'clock to go over schools, and then our regular meeting starts at 7.
Wait, so are we going to every single school? Or
No,
or
we're
just-
on your own, go to the schools, check them out so you have context of what
It's
we're.
just Royal Homes and Henley.
Yeah.
Yes.
For next month? The 11th or the 18th?
Next month's meeting, I think is
18.
18 sounds
October
right.
18.
Yeah, okay, good. October 18th at 6 PM. That is a change.
This is just look at the constructions or what?
To go look at, so you have some context, you don't have to, so you know what the schools look like, so when you see these drawings, it makes sense to you, because you've seen it in
So
person.
did you all receive the little videos that were attached to the?
Yeah, I had
that's
trouble
They're
with
pretty
opening
helpful.
the video.
Yeah, they're not easy to open, but once they get going, it's all right. I think that they're not expecting to present a final package, really. There's a lot of conceptual things that they want to discuss. Some of it, I'm pretty sure they're going to want to keep, like the massing and all that, because that's part of the program.
Right.
But in terms of the detail and then how things are treated and, you know, the construction detail, that'll be an interesting discussion.
Where is this? We can see it? Where is it?
It was an
There-
email that
in
was.
an email, there was a link that
Okay.
sent you to little videos, one for each of the schools. It's just 3D, look around just to get understanding how they connect together. If you can't find it, I can send it again, so. Right.
Yep, and then the last meeting is the minutes for July and June. All in favor of approving them? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that's great, so minutes are approved, it's 9:52 PM, I'm going to adjourn our meeting, or adjourn our meeting of the Architectural Review Board.